Go.
Welcome to the Hobby Hoarders podcast, the podcast that tries to keep on topic but rarely achieves it. I am your host Sam, and I am joined by my co-host Matt Geary.
Bite ye.
Every single time, I hope he'll forget, but every time he remembers.
My thing now. It's my thing now.
What will we do? So first up, before I pretend like we are definitely going to keep on topic, what have you been up to in the last 2 weeks in the hobby? What have you been doing?
Well, because I was in Northern Ireland for a week, seeing the fam, and me and my brother played a very, very long game of Axis and Allies Global, which took. It's the longest game we've ever played of it. Usually by turn 5 or 6, you kind of know who's going to win and stuff, but we made it up to turn 11 and could have probably pushed on slightly. But so that took about 24 hours worth of actual play.
Ouch.
So it was like on my mum's table for, we started like on the Wednesday night. We did stuff during the day on Thursday. We didn't on the Wednesday. We did it on the Tuesday night. Did some on the Wednesday during the day. Then my brother went off. He had to do some stuff. We did a little bit in the evening. Then the next day we did the same thing. And then on Friday we played it all day. And until like 4 a.m. or something, and then on Saturday we finished off, and then it was just like turn 11.
Just to double check, do you have any other family members?
Yeah.
When you go home to visit the family, do you have any? Is it it's just you and your brother? Isn't it? You don't have any nieces, nephews, sisters-in-law?
Me and my brother and sister, brother-in-law, and my mom and stuff. But I went for walks with my mom and sister in the evenings and during the day and stuff. So that was all right. But we played a big war game, and it was it was the longest one we've had. It was the closest game we've had, where there was literally toing and froing, and it just got to the bit at the end where I'd sort of like he'd taken sort of Moscow, and generally when you take a main capital, that kind of thinks, oh shit, you're in trouble. But because the Americans had sort of come in, and I'd landed in sort of North Africa and in Greece and stuff, I was putting enough pressure on him to sort of it didn't matter. And then it just got to the point where I was just like, he's just, maybe I'll just have one more turn. I said, realistically, if I'm to be honest, I think you're going to lose through attrition eventually, because I'm, your team, because you do it in teams, Axis or Allies, your team's getting 110 IPCs, which is the currency that you use to buy units and stuff a turn, whereas my side, despite it's being split across the full globe, is making like 170 and stuff. So eventually that's going to show and stuff, and
don't use logic to beat someone in a game. What's this about?
And then I tar pitted him so much in Russia, because he sort of, it's, if you've ever played Axis and Allies and stuff, it's like, it's an amazing game, by the way. It's honestly, I'm trying to write an article about it. I'm trying to write an article, and the title of the article is Axis and Allies Global, the game you will probably never play but should. And it's like,
you know what? I would love it if one of our listeners tallied up the number of articles that you've started and never finished. We're on easily double digits.
To be honest, I've done quite a lot of review stuff, but this is just sort of, there is ones like this. This one, unfortunately, is taking long. I'm trying to explain to people why it's not complex, but then I'm like writing out all the rules and going, people who aren't into war games are going to look at this and go, that's well complex. And it's like, it's not. Axis and Allies is not a complex game. It's just, there's lots of little rules that you have to remember, or that you can cause issues, but it's not complicated. It's not a complicated game.
I'm curious what the definition of complicated is. So define complicated. Let's see. So what does the good old Oxford language, consisting of many small parts or elements. What did you just say? What was your description?
Yeah,
I'm
exactly that. But I mean, like, it's not complicated. Like, if you were to look at something, there would be lots of it would be
I think it's a lot of Euro games are like that in a way. You know, Euro games, when you first unpack them, have a terrifying number of components.
Yeah.
But when you actually get started, it's okay.
Yeah, and
is it that sort of thing?
Axis and Allies, there's a lot of units, and you know. But the thing is, it's like the mechanics for attacking. It's literally a 1d. It's the d6 for each one. You know, it's literally you hit on a 1, and if you get a 1, you kill something. For infantry defend on 2. So there's an attack characteristic, there's a defend characteristic for most things, and that's it. You both roll the same dice at the same time, depending on how many units you have, and any numbers you get that equal your attack characteristic is the other person takes as a casualty. There's no defense, there's no nothing. It's literally just roll a load of dice and death, and that's sort of kind of it. The sort of kind of more complex side of it, if there is one, is more sort of, it's like chess, because you have to go like, if you're moving these units in here, then is that going to leave your back door open for like one of the other nations to do this? And if you sort of like, for example, like the Germans will generally sort of kind of go straight into Russia, but then it's like, if you do that, have you got enough defenses along sort of the southern border with Africa? Obviously, Italy's there to try and help you out, but then obviously with the British sort of in the British Isles, and then the Americans coming across. And so my brother kind of went into Russia full steam.
Which is just the wrong move. Has he not recognised from history ever? Never invade Russia, especially not in the winter.
With the game, you have to go quickly and you have to go hard and stuff. But the thing is, he sort of kind of left Norway open, and I invaded, and he gets a lot of bonuses for that. And I stopped it.
Norwegian.
And I stopped. There was Norwegian, and then I stopped him from doing that. So he was losing points every time, which slowed him down attacking Russia, and so he was getting tar pitted. And so, as much as he had a lot of units there to do stuff, he couldn't sustain it eventually and stuff. And I was just like, "You're not going to be able to sustain this." I wiped out his navy with the Americans in the Pacific and stuff. So he was sort of, I think, he needed to be, with the Axis, you need to have some big gains early on before America comes in, or it's going to be harder for you.
Tell the truth, is the game ever so slightly balanced so the Axis don't win? Because if I was going to design a board game with the Axis in it, I would definitely make sure they lose.
This Axis and Allies is potentially one of the most balanced games I've ever seen in my entire life. No shit. It's so balanced. It's like I said, 11 turns, and it wasn't like at any point you felt, as much as like Russia spent most of the game backing off and stuff, I didn't, at no point do you go, oh my god, you know, Germany's too overpowered, because all the units are exactly the same. Everybody has the same units, the same sort of things you can buy.
That? It might be perfect for balance, but does it make it good gameplay?
Yeah, because you basically, so if you see what you got to think about, every single war game you play, tabletop games especially, they have lots of differing units, they've got lots of sort of things, and there's always complaints because everything's different, and they're always having to do checks and balances and stuff because something's overpowered. They change something which knocks everything out of kilter. This is pretty much everybody has the same attack and defense capabilities. The only difference you have is the amount of money that you can get, and when things come into be able to come into war. So America can't declare war until turn 3, unless it is attacked first, or unless one of the allied nations in the Pacific is attacked by Japan and stuff. But then they get, and counter to that, they get bonuses if they aren't at war with America and stuff. So it always counters itself out. So you're getting certain bonuses, and it works so well. Like it's the second edition of it. They've literally got it down to a T, where the fact is if America comes in, they're getting a lot more than everybody else, but they're also having to split their forces in the Pacific and the Atlantic. So they can either dump everything in the Pacific to try and deal with Japan, but then leave the British open in the Atlantic, and then sort of in France and stuff like that, or they can do this vice versa, or they can split it across this thing, but then not splitting it, you've got a lot of these make these decisions, and like if Japan does certain things early enough, then it can take a lot of the islands. It gets a lot of money. It gets a lot of points for taking these islands, and it means it can actually stand up and beat America in naval combat, because America can't do anything, because for it to take land, it has to build transports, which costs money. And therefore, the Japanese just have to defend against that, so they just have a lot of ships, and so it's like, and then it's because it's secular, as it's a world, you literally, there's no hiding. So if you attack one side, then there's always going to be somebody who can attack you from the other, and so there's a lot of sort of counterbalancing and balancing and making sure that you're sort of shoring yourself up for if you make a big push, you have to make sure that your defenses in the other area are going to be able to hold off long enough for you to make that attack, and then come back, or at least sort of get enough money so you can build things there to sort of defend yourself. It's an amazing game, and it's like it's
in the last episode, kind of talked about Age of Empires 2 and your brother's rules and like rules of engagement, which a lot of people made fun of you. Don't worry, I didn't make fun of you, and I didn't start it in the comments. Other people started in the comments. But do you do the same thing in this game? Do you turtle up? Do you go, no, you can't attack me?
No, you've got set rules. You've got basically, so at the start of the game, Germany's at war with Russia, UK, France, and Russia, UK. Oh, actually, it's not even at war with Russia. It's at war with the UK and France, and the Anzacs here, sort of kind of obviously a part of your thing, and that's it. And Germany can decide to stay put and then do a sea line and try and invade Britain, or defend up there and just take on Russia straight away. And there's lots of things. So you can do that. Russia can't come in unless it gets attacked. It can't come in until turn 4. America can't come in until turn 3 unless it's attacked. So there's certain things that you can't do within the rules until that things. And that balances it out more. So you have sort of balances within that game. And like I said,
declaring peace an option?
No, because it's Axis versus Ally. The thing is, it's harder.
How funny would that be if you could, and it was like world peace achieved?
Yeah,
there should be a secret ending.
Well, you can't sort of. With the problem you have is, it in certain ways it's technically easier for the Axis to win, because they don't have to use so you've got certain victory cities you have to take to win the game. For the Allies to win, they have to have all of their victory cities, plus they have to have Rome, Berlin, and Tokyo. And that's across the board. Whereas for the Axis to win, all they need is the European victory cities on their own, or the Pacific victory cities on their own. So one side of the board or the other. And so in theory, you could let one side of the board get punished and then just move everything across to the other side of the board to help out and just have it, like my brother was trying to do. He was trying to get through China to help take out Russia earlier. But I managed to tar pit him down, so he was struggling. So, it's an amazing game. It's really well balanced. It's just sort of like
in those kind of games where you have those sort of options, I kind of wish there was more fog of war. I think it works a lot better in video games for that reason. But are the movements sort of hidden, like so? Well,
because you
don't know what's happening.
But you're not really. Because it's not like everything. Because the Axis and Allies global board is 3 foot by 5 foot. The board itself is it's a big board. So, and the thing is, things can only move. Infantry can only move one space. Mechanized infantry can move 2, tank can move 2, planes can move 4 or 5 if they're on an air base, ships can only move 2, 3 if they've got a naval base, and it's literally just a case of you build up in a certain way, you build up things, and you do it either as a threat or a deterrent, and you don't need fog of war, because the whole sort of thing is like, is he actually going to attack there, or is he just building up there? And it's like, in real life, you're going to have like aircraft or things, people kind of go, they're built. They in all like both World Wars, they knew they were building up on the borders.
Yeah.
It was just like, are they going to do anything and stuff? And so that's it. It's just like you sort of build up in borders and things, and it's just like shit. So if he's doing that, do I have to go around here and stuff, and I have to do this, and then do I need to strip things from this part of the land to do this and stuff? So you don't need fog of war in it because it doesn't have any bearing on the game. To be honest, it might slow it down even more, and it's already because it's such a big game. You don't need any extra.
How much of that is you agonizing? Because I have played you at plenty of games, and you're definitely and I am to a certain extent as well an agonizer. You go, well, if they do that, then I'll do this. Then they'll do this. But do they know that I know that they know that I know that?
Well, the thing is, you should, in theory, be able to get through a game of Axis and Allies Global within 14 to 18 hours. Because there is literally the Allies have, especially if you're playing two people, you're playing with just two people. You've got the Axis have 3 nations to use. The Allies have the 3 main ones plus minor ones. So China, France, which dies pretty much straight away, it gets invaded and killed. There's no. Basically, if the Germans don't take France straight away, you might as well reset the game. If they don't take it turn 1, then there's no point in carrying on because, it has to go in turn 1. So the French don't really do much bar some of their colonial stuff that every now and again can help out. And then you got China, France, and the Anzacs. And, so you've got 6 nations to do and stuff. So you're literally going through them. There's planning phases, purchase phases, attack phases, movement phases, and then deployment phases and stuff, and you've got to really think this out. And even buying units, how many units you're going to have and stuff, bears in mind, because you might think I'll just buy tanks, but the thing is, tanks attack on 3s, but infantry defends on 2s. Tanks cost double what an infantry is, so you charge in with a bunch of tanks, fine, you might do a lot more damage, but you're costing yourself a lot more in the long runs, and he's just losing infantry and stuff. So it's just sort of one of those things you got to really think it out. And then you got to think, do I do strategic bombing raids on their cities to stop them from building more units or reducing the amount of money they can spend on their units and stuff? So there's a lot of different things. There's convoying and stuff that you can do and stuff, and it's I'm not making it isn't complicated. It's just there's lots of little things you can do. They're easy to do. It's just remembering all those different things. If you haven't played it, it would be quite overbearing. But
you said that you can play a game in 15 to 18 hours. There's no way the box says that on the side of it. What does it say? What laughable number does it say on the side of the box, do you think?
Oh shit! Actually, I don't know. I'll have to Google it. I've got the boxes over there, but they're sort of covered, and that's to see what the.
We played a game recently called Wonderland, War in Wonderland, Wonderland Wars. It's Alice in Wonderland, but you fight a war, and it's incredibly fun. But it says 25 minutes on the box. Now, the first game we played of it took 3 hours, but that's because me and my friend were learning it at the same time as playing it. The second time, we had the board fully set up, good to go. We started the clock and we said, right, we can do this. Let's see how fast we can do it. 2 very experienced board gamers. It said 25 minutes a piece, so it should have taken us 50 minutes. Took us an hour and a half. So,
let's see, what does it say here? 600 game pieces. Because there's 2. So basically, Axis and Allies Global is 2 games put together. So it's Axis and Allies Europe and Axis and Allies Pacific stuck together. So you've literally got 1,200 pieces. 2 to 6 players, ages 12 and up. Takes about 6 hours. So it says takes about 6 hours to play, which for one side is, if you know everything and you're not pondering everything and you're rolling dice straight away and stuff, yeah, so I'd say maybe 8 hours. So I'm thinking, between 14 and 16 hours is good, because again, you kind of know pretty early on if you're going to lose or not. There's a tipping point. It's just that because me and my brother were really, really overthinking everything and sort of kind of putting a lot of thought into it, took a lot longer. I enjoy that. I could do that. 24 hours to me on one game was nothing. It was burning my brother out, I think, by the end of it and stuff. But for me, I was just like, yeah, I love this. It's awesome.
I probably played for the same amount of time as you at the weekend, but I was actually doing a different game. I was doing Lord of the Rings strategy battle game.
Somebody's been
So
trying to get me into that. Actually, you're the third person who's talked about that recently to me. So it's like my friend Maudsley's been trying to get me to play it for ages. I've got the Pelennor Fields box set, which I've not sort of built or anything. It's just
done
there.
in with.
I've done anything with. But there was a guys I was at Element Games yesterday, playing Blood Bowl, and these guys were playing the War of the Ring board game, and because it's a pretty long game, I was like, wow, these guys like long games. Maybe they'll like Axis and Allies. So I was talking to them about Axis and Allies, but they were saying they were going to start playing that as well. So yeah, it seems to be.
So if I was to summarize it in a way that doesn't make it sound like it takes 4 days to play, burn. Uh, Basically, what you do is you buy heroes. So they're normally heroes of people that you'd actually know, and then you buy warbands. So a warband might be a little group of orcs. It might be a group of orcs and some wargs. So leader, and then you have units. But once on the table, there's no such thing as units. Each individual model is independent, so you could get an orc running off to one side of the board, whilst an orc in the same warband runs off to completely the other side. The turns basically happen in priority order. So you roll off at the beginning of the turn. If you win the roll off, you have priority. So you'll do your entire movement phase first, then I'll do my entire movement phase. Unless you have heroes. If you have heroes, they have heroic actions, such as heroic move, heroic shoot, and heroic fight. So you can basically interrupt with one of your heroes. Now, to make sure that this isn't too overpowered, each of them has a limited number of resources of might for doing those heroic actions, will for casting spells, and fate for basically doing an armor save. So when you're fighting, you roll your dice, and then whoever has the highest roll wins. So that means if you have a squad of 10 orcs and you roll all 10 dice, if you get 1-6, you beat Aragorn. Because Aragorn, he can't get higher than a 6 on a dice.
Yeah.
So you can win through sheer numbers, which I absolutely love. Although heroes, they have their might, and might can actually modify the dice. So if Aragorn rolled a 4, he could spend 2 might to make it a 6, and he'd win. Because obviously whoever has the highest fight value wins draws.
Okay.
But I absolutely love it because I think it really does give you that sense of, yes, heroic people, your heroes are amazing, but they're not infallible. And if you throw enough little guys at them, you'll win. But it's also very mission centric.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've got to play the mission, and you can win the game just by having enough points at the end of the game if your opponent ignored it. So I would say it's one of Games Workshop's best live IPs. No, in fact, would I say it's better than Warcry? I would say in terms of competitiveness, it's better because Warcry has a level of randomness.
I've heard that a few times and stuff, that it's one of their best games and stuff. Though it's not like there's a lot of models coming out for it, but there doesn't seem it. When I was at Element yesterday, I saw one set of guys playing that. There was quite a few people playing Warcry actually, but
Love Warcry.
Yeah, for a game that's it's like 40k just seems to overshadow it and stuff. But I've heard that from numerous people that it's probably one of their best games.
Well, they're just releasing not version 2, but version 1.5 or whatever it is, 2.5, whatever version it is, it's 0.5. And the reason they've done it like that is so that it doesn't invalidate all the previous rules. So you could still use the rules from all the different expansions. The main problem with it is out of production models, or, if you're trying to get models, you now have no way of getting them apart from buying them pre-owned or crossing your fingers and hoping, like we were doing for the Boromir scene at Amon Sul. Yeah. We were praying that, they re-released that model set. In the end, we just had to buy them pre-owned because there was no other way of doing it. And that's the real problem. But it's a game system that was kind of, to a certain extent, kicked in the teeth by its own success. Because of the movies, it got so many people into Games Workshop. It just exploded. They had no idea how popular it was going to be. And I think the reason that we're getting some rumblings now, we've got a new updated rule set coming out. We've got a new main rule box, and we've got those 4 battle boxes, which are new models repackaged, and they're cheaper. If you were to buy them individually, they are cheaper buying them as I think they're called battle hosts. So do we think that's in preparation for the TV show dropping in 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days,
Well,
people.
my brother's going to see. My brother's one of his mates is a second. No, what is he? He is a what is he? Assistant director, assistant director for. He did for Game of Thrones and stuff like that. So he does a lot of stuff for movies in Northern Ireland and stuff. And like he was the second AD, I think, for Game of Thrones and stuff. So he got him tickets to go and see the like previews for it in the cinema and stuff. So he's going to see the first 2 episodes tonight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm jealous. So I'm just like,
the most expensive TV show ever made.
Yeah. So fingers crossed it's going to be good. So yeah. Though from what I've read, it's like it uses the background, like because I've read the Silmarillion a couple of times and stuff, and it's like it's sort of based on the background, but it's got its own story to it and stuff. So we'll see how it goes, which is all right because Silmarillion, it does have main stories, but because it's so vast, I think there's a lot of wiggle room for some of it.
I love books like that. Like what I'm sure we've talked about them before. Under the Eagle, Cato and Macro. Those are real Roman events that happened in history, but then the little bits in between are made up. The characters are made up, although there may or may not have actually existed. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 but yeah, that's what I was playing. We did a little league. So we did basically 450, 450, 650, 850 points. So I fed Oliver at 4 a.m. At 4:30, I jumped in the shower, got straight in the car, and drove all the way up north to arrive at 7 a.m. Or 7:30, I think it was, because I ended up having to pick up a different friend en route. And then we just played all the way through till about 1 a.m. Slept until about 7. Back up, straight back gaming.
That's good. You don't get many. Like I don't think we've. Like me and my brother obviously do it, but like me and my friends, I don't think we had like an early gaming session and then it ends at like 11 and stuff. But we've never done a couple of days where people stay over, because there's always people sort of shying off, wanting to go back to their own beds and things like that. So
don't get me wrong, that happened. There was meant to be originally 6 of us, and by the end of day 2 there was none of it. There was just the 2 of us. It always happens, people are like, 10 till 10 I'll be there, and then suddenly little Coco's not feeling well, or little Bonjo's, and you're like, what? We arrange it like 2 months in advance to make sure that everyone's there, and then inevitably we don't get everyone.
It's just like herding cats.
It's a lot of money now.
It's like herding cats.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, but yeah, it's good.
Like 100 pounds.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to do sort of big massive gaming session and stuff, but getting people organized for things, even myself, it's hard these days and stuff. So that's why we're doing the Blood Bowl League and stuff, because it's just forcing people to sort of actually play games and stuff like that. And I absolutely trounced my first match yesterday. Like, I absolutely destroyed him.
Who have you gone again?
I've gone humans, so I've got like they call them Maffinian.
Bog standard humans,
just bog standard. So tier 2, so they're not even like a whack list and stuff. It's just normal humans. They're called the Maffinian Maulers, and I was against Wood Elves, who are notoriously hard, and I won 3-0. By the end of the game, he had 3 guys left on the pitch, and he's got 2 characters who have to miss his next game. 2 guys who have to miss their next game, and the rest are either knocked out. One of them has a niggling injury and stuff, so he's it was just like really good rolls on the armor saves, and then
that guy's dropping out by game 3.
Yeah,
that guy's gone by game 3.
The thing is, I feel really bad because he's new, so he's not played it before. Well, no, a lie. He had one practice game before and stuff, and when we were playing it, I was kind of going like, man, he's like, I'm gonna give the ball to this person, and I was just like, you don't want to do that. And he's just like, well, why not? It's just because if you put the ball there, I'm going to tackle you with 3 guys from here, and then this guy here and stuff like that. At least if you keep it back there, I'm not going to get it, and I'm not going to score. Or if you punt it, no, I said, or your other option is no guts, no glory. you chuck it down the field and see if your war dancer or your war dancer can pick it up. And he tried that, and he failed just, but it landed beside him, and it meant I was too far away to get the score that turn because it was too far down thick. So I said, like, in the end, you failed it, but I'm not scoring by the end of this half and stuff like that. So, you know, in the end, you've chucked the ball away, and it's not a bad thing. It did end 3-0, but it would probably have been a lot worse than that because the dice were definitely on my side this time round and stuff, and he wasn't having a good time. Like, he was enjoying it, I think, but it was just like, I was just like, armor break, injury, armor break, injury. I was like, oh man.
That's not what you want in the league. No. That's what we tended to find when we were doing things like Dreadball leagues, is you would get people, like, if they lost the first game. I much prefer systems when you're doing leagues and stuff like that reward the loser rather than rewarding the winner. Now, a lot of people hate that because they're like, oh, you know, what's the point of even winning? You know, and I'm like, yeah, but it evens the playing field. If you won, you had a great time. They are now getting a boost, and hopefully they'll win. So then they'll have a great time. And you got to remember, there's two people playing the game. I can see from your face you disagree.
No, I don't. I think with the game, it's all about sort of advancing your characters and things. And now the thing with Blood Bowl is, one, like, you know, I like my long games. I like my big games, but it just feels good. The rock up, stick a board out, put 11 guys down. That's it. Take your dice out. It takes 5 minutes to set up. It doesn't take ages to set everything. You know, put all your guys down. Yeah. The rules are basic, really, really simple. You know, we got through it. Usually, when I'm playing 40k and Element, you know,
4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know, we're really pushing it for the last turn and stuff like that. We were an hour early. We finished, and there was still an hour and a half to go, and we're just sort of like,
how long did it take you?
Started about 6:30, finished at just before 10, quarter to 10.
Ooh,
but
still like a good 3 hours.
But he also left for 20 minutes because he had to sort his parents out. So I was just wandering around talking to the guys who were playing Lord of the Rings, War of the Ring and stuff. So there was like back, you know, it wasn't all pure play and stuff. There was sort of like bits and pieces, and there was times where I sort of trying to explain to him about certain things and stuff. But you know, you get your bonuses, but the thing is, the person who loses, so he's got 2 guys he can't be in his next game, right? It's not too bad because one has a niggling injury, which causes problems, I think, for other injuries that come on down the line, but you get inducements. So if your level is lower, you can get free stuff to play your next game and stuff like that. So he can get star players, he can get dirty tricks, he can get biased referees. You get things to basically bring the level back up to where it is. So you're not, you know, your
Red Ball has the same thing, and I just don't feel like that system works because the short-term gains, you know, it's not as good as, you know, one-eyed Azog, like, coming onto the field with all these upgrades, and he's my permanent player I have every single turn. It's just not the same.
Does in Dreadball, do they get bonuses for? So how does it work? How do they increase in stats and stuff?
So you get them based on what you do during the actual game. So if a striker scores or a jack scores, they get XP. If they hit the next threshold of XP, they get leveled up. You can either choose from a set of jack skills or strike skills, or you can randomize and roll on a random skill chart or strength chart.
So they have to have certain conditions to get those?
Yeah, so for example, a jack or a striker would just need to score, or would need to successfully do a 9 hex pass, which is the hardest pass. You know, a guard would have to put someone on the floor and put them in the hospital, so they would have to do damage.
So it's just like Blood Bowl, then. So you got certain things. So you get certain star player points for doing specific things. So the thing is, you could still lose a game and still advance a lot of your characters. So like, he didn't come out of the game without star player points. He got a MVP, he got 2 injuries on me, so he got star player points for his guys. It's just I managed to knock a lot of his guys out of the game early. Now nothing any major sort of issues. You'd get them back. So the thing is, in this next game, you'll have some more inducements. But the thing is, I said to him, I said, look, I would have preferred that you did more damage to me this turn round, because later on down the line, when I'm playing like goblins and things like that, where they're just literally going to foil me all the time, they're gonna do a lot of damage to characters who I've upgraded, and that's where it gets painful. Because if you've got a guy like I've got currently a catcher who's literally just fucking the king at the minute, like he's just scoring all the time, and I know he's gonna get killed at some point in time, and that's gonna be upsetting, because you've spent a long time giving him stats, upgrading him, and you don't want your sort of good characters getting killed and stuff. But it's good.
The problem with killing is it helps the next person along.
Yeah.
It helps your next opponent. It doesn't help your current opponent.
Yeah, what's that? So he's got.
I don't know how I would change it. I have no idea how I would change it, but I prefer to reward the losers than reward the winners.
Well, that's true, because I was thinking about this. So he's got 2 players that aren't in the next game. So his next game is going to be easier, well, in theory, for somebody else. But conversely, then somebody could do the same for somebody who's going to play me. And, I guess it sort of swings and roundabouts and stuff. So I don't know. We'll see what happens and stuff. But yeah, first game was, it was enjoyable. I think he tried to square up to me too much instead of using the elves for his own. The elves can, like, they're dodging out of stuff in 2. So as long as he's not getting a 1, he's doing a lot of stuff. But he was sort of going for hits and things like that, and I, as much as humans aren't, they're sort of middling. It's just like you're not, the AV, the armor values of the elves is lower, so I was sort of breaking their armor a lot faster, and so he was getting guys sent off or sent into the dugout quite a lot more and stuff. So, but yeah, good.
Where do they? Because you said there that they're tier 2, the humans. What tier are the Norse? They were the ones I always played.
Do I have? Oh, actually, I do have it on I've got it on my thing here. So we've got a thing called Tour Play, which is annoying because it's not working properly at the minute. I've had to email them about my results. They didn't show up properly. But let's just see here. So.
Getting that on a Google sheet and then getting it connected to Power BI.
Oh, good old Power BI. Let me just give this here. So teams. Okay. Oh, it usually tells you where are they? Where are they? 1 minute. If I go to League, if I go to, gonna be on standings, is it? I know. I wonder if I go to participants. That's what I want to do. Participants.
One of those things is who decides these tier listings? Is it?
I don't know. But I know, like, dwarves are one. It's not telling me. I thought it. There's usually a thing that tells you. It's got all the tier lists, for what they are. Oh, I know what it'll be under. It'll be under edit category. No, not that. Edit. Configure face. That's it. No, that seems no. I can't find it.
Have you ever done one of those tier ones where you've got, like, the website where you upload all the images and
I haven't done it. I've seen it, but yeah, there's different tiers, and you can generally tell, like, dwarves are at the top because everything has block and they're stupid hard. There are some other teams like black orcs. I think orcs, humans. Some of the elf teams, I think, like high elves and things like that, are in the top tier. I'm not 100% sure about Norse. But yeah, there's a lot of different layers. Like goblins and stuff are sort of kind of lower level, but the thing is, they aren't designed to win. They're just designed to be that team that does damage to other teams and stuff.
Yeah.
There's two in our league. There's two goblin teams in our league and stuff. So I'm not looking forward to dealing with. As much as I'll no doubt smush a couple of them, they're going to hurt my players. So I'm going to keep the less sort of advanced ones away from everything. I'm just going to run them away and go, right, no, can't deal with them. But yeah,
You have spares on the bench. Like, can you do
I've got
substitutions?
you can have up to 15 people in a team. I've currently bought.
But could you do substitutions live?
No, you can. Sorry, Birthman. Right, somebody's trying to.
So, for example, in Dreadball, you only have a maximum player count on the pitch, but you have extra in the dugouts. So
Yeah, so you can only do it after a touchdown or after a touchdown or after.
Of course, in Blood Bowl, you reline up your models.
Yeah. So it's after a touchdown or after a after another half, so you can change the characters and stuff. So
what do you consider a quick game?
In
Not Blood Bowl, just
in general.
What would you consider a quick war game? We'll say war game.
I don't know, sir.
To me, it's sub 2 hours, which I love the fact that
I think
that's a non-board game or a non-war game, or they go, what? 2 hours is you're short, and I'm like, yeah, 2 hours.
When you're playing 40k in a tournament, you get technically an hour and a half to 2 hours and stuff to play a game, and that's sort of that's pushing.
But those are not realistic of the average game, I would say. Like, see if you're playing a game with your mates, it takes way longer.
Yeah, because you kind of want to sit there and think about it and stuff. Like, I make a lot more mistakes when I'm playing tournaments because I'm just forgetting. I'm just going, oh, time's running out, I need to do this, and then I sort of forget things, and then you go, I've forgotten that, and the guy's like, oh well, tough. Like every night.
And then you note it down and you go, okay, that's fine. Now I know what game we're playing. We're on an evil pairing. And then their very next thing they do, oh, I forgot this massive, can I just, and you're like, no.
I've done that before, man. There's a guy who
satisfaction.
There was a guy who I played ages ago, and actually I'm quite friendly with him and stuff, but he was just like, yeah, no, because he was winning and stuff. And then something like one of my flyers or something blew up and took out a load of his sort of devastators, which was very important to his game plan and stuff like that. But he had meant to move them back. And he's like, oh man, I was meant to move those back. Oh well.
That's not even the same thing. Like, yours was forgetting a rule that existed. His was forgetting positioning. I have no sympathy for that. As for rules, how do you feel about rules that, like, if there's a passive ability, I almost always will go, go ahead and roll, because I'm like, it's a passive ability. Because you forgot about it doesn't change the fact that it exists.
Yeah.
Whereas, something like that, someone was like, oh, I meant to move them. Unless it's something like, if they'd said to me at the beginning of the turn, they're like, oh, I wanted to move these guys to here, like, and it was to get an objective, but then we got in a discussion about something else, I will, sometimes go, you know what, fair enough, you did tell me already.
Like, I'm pretty easy when it comes to stuff. If you've forgotten something and it's in your turn, or it's at the very end of your turn and I've not done anything, then I don't really care if you sort of do something. Oh, I should have done that in that phase. Do you mind if I do that? It doesn't really affect, it might be, all right, fine, I forgot to do my psychic powers or something. It's just like, I've not actively done anything and stuff. It is still technically your turn. So yeah, I'm not going to be overly arsy about people doing, do you mind if I do my psychic powers now? Or do you mind if I sort of move this guy here because I forgot to do that and stuff? Yeah, I'm not that super competitive, and I like winning, but I'm not that sort of guy. If it gets to the point where it's halfway through my turn and the guy's like, oh shit, I forgot to do this, do you mind if I do that? And I'm like,
yeah, we've got new information at that point. Yeah, so they now know what you're going to do.
Exactly. So it's just like one of those things, and it's just like, no. And they're like, I'm pretty forgiving when it comes to rules and stuff like that. There's certain stuff that's just like, yeah, like, me and my brother do it all the time. Do you mind if I do that and stuff? Yeah, it's not a problem. Oh, I was meant to do this, and it's just like, yeah, all right, fine, doesn't matter.
Well, we need to talk about that one time, good sportsmanship, because I bet you we're different in that regard. I mean, straight from the get-go, it always makes me laugh, because anytime I'm playing a new game, so for example, most sporting, it's a very nice medal. do not own most sporting at all, but I do have several other trophies, real trophies. But I've forgotten what I was going to say now.
That
You
you're a bad
distracted me with
sportsman,
trophies.
Sam.
No, not that. Yeah, we need to have a conversation about that, about what defines good and what defines bad. For example, we were playing. I'm just seeing in our chat the pictures I sent you of starter sets, and it was Armada, and I'd never played it before, and I went to the tournament and I watched a couple of games from Blackjack. If you've never watched Blackjack Legacy, great channel. But I watched those, and that was all my knowledge of the game before I went in. So people had to correct me on little things and had to teach me little things, and I ended up winning that tournament. But it was the same thing with Lord of the Rings, because I don't know about you, but I always find these niche cases. I'm like, so what happens if we do this? And people will be like, well, nobody's ever asked me that. Why would I know? And you're like, nobody. And you're like trying to Google it. You're trying to use your Google foo to get the right combination. It seems like nobody in the world has ever asked that question. You're like, what? How? One of them was something I killed my opponent's mount in the movement phase. So I charged him, got the charge off, used my magic to kill his mount. But because the on-foot character's base size is smaller than the mount's base size, where do you put him? Does he go slap bang in the middle? If he goes slap bang in the middle, does that mean he's no longer in combat because he's outside of an inch of everyone? Does your opponent get to choose? Do you keep the mount in place and then place the guy in contact with the mount, then remove the mount and then move your models? And it's like, how has nobody ever had this scenario come up in, because that game's been about, 12 years?
See, that's the one thing that frustrates me about certain war games. 40k is sort of really bad for it and stuff. Like, I remember playing one of the Team England guys. Like, this wasn't the last edition, recent edition, it was last edition. And I was like running Custodies and Space Wolves, I think, like that. I was doing my sort of Prospero fluffy Custodians Guard and Space Wolves list, and it was all pretty much foot slogging and stuff. But this was back in the day when flyers were king, and having lots of Dark Angel flyers with a what's it called? There's basically a skimmer that sort of shrouds everything, so it gives them a sort of, it gives them a sort of -1 to hit and stuff like that, and an invulnerable, I think. But so the idea is that, you can't go within a certain amount of the base and stuff, and I was like, wait a minute, so you're blocking me with aircraft, which are technically in the air, from getting to this thing that's on the ground, so I can't run underneath the aircraft that are in the air, because like, oh no, there's aircraft in the air and stuff, and I'm just like, it's annoying. So that really frustrates me, because it's just like things like that, and then like bases, like, it's just like, oh, that base isn't fully on the board, so it's like, it's off, and it's like, it's just like, I think it's being overly, I don't see why, there aren't rules to sort of kind of, I think it's being overly pernickety about stuff. I understand, like, you have to have certain lines and things like that, but, you can't place the units, they're dead and stuff, so people use that to wipe your guys out and stuff, and it's just like, is that how it would happen realistically though? Yeah. Or would you just sort of maybe, can you place them? But then I guess the argument would be, okay, fine, so you can do that, but then people will take advantage of that rule by sort of doing that so they can place further back and things like that. So pretty much, certain competitive players are shit, and they ruin it for everybody else because they're always trying to break the rules and take
I don't
advantage.
do that. I don't have the kind of forethought to do that. I can't be bothered with that. I'd rather just like choose whatever models I own and just rock up with that. Whereas, I've played one of my favorite players to play against. I'm sure I've mentioned him already, Daniel Meadows, and he, before games, maps out every possibility. Like, I just remember this one is my favorite. There's comets that fall on the board, and you can roll d6s to like determine where they're going to crash into Earth. he mapped out all the possible routes. So he like got tape out and taped it all out, and he showed me the photo, and he was like, "So this is the optimal way to move across the board." And I'm like, "Dude, what?" And he's an incredible player, and do you know what? He's one of the few people who can win most sporting and win at the same time, because you have a good time playing him. Like, whether you win or lose, he's giving you tips.
But the thing is,
and
there's certain people who, like Manny Chima, who's like one of the he's like number one, I think, in the world, I think, at 40k, or he's close to it. Something he's in Team England. He's generally one of the best 40k players around, and I've played him once, and I didn't, as much. He's very much into whatever's a good. He has no sort of loyalty to any list whatsoever. He just, whatever's the best one, he'll use and stuff. But conversely, having remembered playing him, and he absolutely trounced me, it wasn't a bad experience, because he seemed sort of like, he was giving advice, and while he was doing it and stuff, he could tell that you weren't as good and stuff, and he was sort of kind of...
When was he giving advice? After you was removing your models? Oh, you should have put them in the open like that. They were screwed.
I've played top table players and not enjoyed it, because they were being they were just being like arses and stuff. But then I've played guys who are sort of like, you can tell they're good at the game because they know the game really, really well and stuff like that. And they're not just trying to gotcha, they just know the game really well and stuff. So it's the one thing that gets war games in general is the it's a hard thing, because it's like, if you're a good player, you're trying to work away, you're trying to find the optimal way to win things, and that does mean bending rules. But it's annoying because you shouldn't be bending rules. It's like it should be rules as in, there's always very much rule. Everybody takes rules as written instead of rules as intended, and it's like, I think there's very much a line where you can tell that's the way it's intended, but because it's not written that way, they don't accept it. And it's just like, and they'll argue, it's like, oh, I'm not sure if it means that. How do you know that it means that? But it's basically because it's in their advantage, whereas if it was the other way around. So yeah, it's one of those things. I think there's...
Well, Games Workshop started actually putting in designer notes into their FAQs as sort of this is what we were thinking when we designed the rule, which I think is really cool. Yeah. My favorite one is, like I said, we were playing Wonderland War, and I went on to, what's it called? Board Game Geek? Is it called Board Game Geek? Yeah. And the designer had gone on the forums to answer questions about the game, which I think is lovely. You don't get that with like Cool Mini or not. It just shows a sort of a certain level of caring. But how about all the listeners? Have you guys encountered this sort of problem? Have you played games where you've got real problems with rules as written versus rules as intended, or raw versus ray? Raw
versus ray?
Let us know in the comments below. Yeah. We'd love to hear about your stories and things like that. You can always drop us an email with them as well at the hobbyhoarderspodcast@gmail.com, because then we can make a whole episode about reading your stories and comments. That's always easy content. Anyway, speaking of content, what we're here to talk about is
Dungeons and Dragons.
No, starter sets. So the reason I'm sort of thinking about this is I've sent it in a link to yourself there near the top there, the Armada Taster Set. So for those of you who don't know, Mantic, a company that I am a fan of, I probably play as many, if not more, of their games than Games Workshop. And this game, very close to my heart. I was a massive fan and player of Man of War, which was Games Workshop's sort of epic scale, 6mm, 8mm scale fleet battle system, which unfortunately was not supported for a long, long time. And I've always wanted something like this, and they released Dreadfleet, which was a board game. I ended up buying like 3 copies of them when it came out. I was like, this is amazing. Couldn't get anyone on board, because as soon as you write your own rules, suddenly people aren't interested, which is interesting, because when you become a games developer, surely they're then going to be interested in your rules, but, who knows. But this game came out, you have entire fleets, so you can have entire fleet of Norsemen and entire fleet of elves. And the thing that I thought was interesting was, if you open that link up, you'll see there the Armada taster set came out, and it was very different to anything I personally have ever seen in wargaming. The set comes with a rule book. It comes with all of the tokens that you would need, including things like fake islands. It comes with these really cool, really easy to use information sheets, summaries of all the different rules in big card format. It comes with a paper mat. It comes with several different measuring stick things, and it comes with 2 ships. Now, that's not really usable in a full game. You need way more ships than that. What do you think of that as a sort of a concept?
It's 30 quid though, isn't it? So it's not super expensive. 2 ships.
And if you just need to expand this, that's absolutely fine. You can just buy either the full set, the expansion set, or the individual ships.
Yeah, I suppose it is just like the board isn't sort of looking at the board and stuff. I don't know. Is there a way if I can share this?
So the board is just a plain blue board with the markers of the wind, because the wind matters in this. But it comes with tokens, so you get like a 2D island, you get 2D like reefs, you get 2D exploding barrels, that kind of thing.
How Scottish is that?
Reefs. How would you say it?
No, that's the saying. You rolled your R's. It was a very Scottish thing to do. I'm seeing if I can share it. Share your screen. I can.
I suppose. Well, whilst you're getting that, then I could read the blurb. Head to the high seas of Panathor in this great value taster set for Armada, the game of epic naval warfare. This set includes everything you need to begin your journey, include a Basilian Gur Panther, Orc Blood Runner, special map with rules, references, rulebooks, tokens, and dice. It's the perfect way to dip your toe in the waters of Armada.
If you share it, it should pop up on your window instead of your ugly mug. So if you do that, people may be able to see it.
Horror. Absolute horror.
I haven't got a
Did that work?
Have
I disconnected from the call? Have I deleted the internet?
It's you're. It can. Oh, a minute. Oh yeah, okay. You can see me at the top there. I see me and you at the top there.
Technology, people, it's very, very complicated stuff.
Okay, yeah. So you can see you, but you can also see me twice. But there you go. That's
fine. Fantastic. So this is what you come with. If I click on this, can I make it bigger? No. Okay, fine. I was kind of expecting to be able to click on that. There we go. So it comes with the 2 ships. So the 2 ships are, I would say they're about, I don't know, 4 to 5 inches long, sort of thing. The resin ships as well. So it's quite a nice little starter set. But the question is how do you feel about this starter set? Does it have everything that you'd want from a starter set included?
No.
What do you want in a starter set? No.
No.
He says.
I don't get me wrong. Having the islands and having the rules and having tokens is great, but just having 2 ships, I'd be well disappointed in that. That being said, right, it is 30 quid. It is only 30 quid and stuff, but
Well, how many times have you bought into a game and then to convince people to play, you need 2? You either need to buy the big box starter set yourself, or you need to buy 2 factions, and how much money that costs. So to convince people in, because to be honest, I should definitely have done that in the past. I should have somehow found a way of convincing people to play. Then they buy them rather than me buy them. Have you ever had that?
I just buy stuff, man. I just sort of buy everything. It's like getting Song of Ice and Fire.
You're gonna say I've got a problem.
Yeah, I do have a problem. I just buy everything and then go, people will play with me now, and then you play with me.
Okay, ignoring the fact that it's only got 2 ships in it, what do you want from a starter set? So first thing then is terrain. Do you care about terrain in the box? So
depends on the game. Depends on the game. What sort of game are we talking about?
I think every single game ever needs terrain. If you're playing a war game and it doesn't have terrain, then
so we're talking about war games then. Okay, yeah. All right. So yeah. So you need terrain. I, as much as people are arsey about having 3D terrain, I'm fine with cardboard terrain. It doesn't really bother me. For a starter set, if it brought the price down on a starter set, having cardboard terrain, like I'm a mass, Dust Tactics or Dusk 1947, which is unfortunately defunct at the minute. It only came with card terrain, and you could obviously supplement that with regular terrain if you wanted to. But for me, it was just like, happy enough just to use sort of like a square template for a forest or a building and stuff like that.
What would you rather have off? Like, because I reckon, all that together wouldn't knock off more than £2.50 to £5 off the box set. Would you rather not get all these tokens in the terrain, or would you rather get terrain? Personally, I would rather have some cardboard terrain in the box, so I know the sort of size dimensions we're dealing with and the types of terrain we're dealing with. I would always rather have this in it than not have it in a starter set.
Yeah, I look, tokens are a big thing for me. Tokens, like you don't, unless there's specialized dice, you don't really need dice and stuff. I think everybody in the world has more dice than they could need, they would ever need.
And
but
board game dice suck.
Yeah.
Is that just me? I swear dice that come in any set should be thrown in the bin. They always roll terrible.
But yeah, so just tokens you need. Anything that's specific to that game, isn't necessary. But like, just having 2 ships is. That being said, it is only 30 quid.
No, stop. That's not what we're looking for just now. We're looking for like what we want in the content. So terrain, we're saying yes, we want terrain in a set.
Yes.
Are we saying that? Yeah,
cardboard terrain's fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Specialized tokens, you would rather have them provide the tokens than make your own. Because again, you could use anything. You could use a piece of paper. I guess you could use pieces of paper for the thing.
No,
I would prefer the special tokens.
Yeah, I've got I brought back a load of old school war games that my dad and uncle used to play and stuff because my mum wanted to get rid of them out of the house, and they're all very much a case of write on a piece of paper and put this down here and things like that. And as much as using the theater of the mind is all good, it's having those certain tokens where you can just sort of go, well, that's that. It adds to the sort of game. So having tokens is sort of, in my mind, necessary.
Having said that, like as soon as I've played a game and I enjoy it, I am looking for the deluxe ones. You better sell deluxe ones of all of this. I want deluxe terrain. I want deluxe tokens. I want tokens specific to my faction. I'm a sucker in all regards to that. Right, so we both agree on terrain, and we both agree that we do want tokens. So sadly, that has added a little bit to the price of this start set. Rule book. Now, this actually comes with, it doesn't come with the expansions, but it does come with the actual rule book. Would you rather the actual rule book be included, or would you prefer to have like a summary one? So 40k, for example, and correct me if I'm wrong, they come with one which not only has all the fluff removed, but it has some of the rules and scenarios removed. At least it used to. I couldn't.
No, you in the starter set, you'll generally get the full rule book. If it is in the older versions, it used to be a small paperback version of it, but generally they give you the hardback version of it in a starter box.
They never at one point. I swear at one point they did like this little booklet wasn't even because I remember like whatever last version I played was, they did have like a miniature version of the rulebook, and I was like, I want one of those in addition to my main rulebooks. They were amazing. But then they also did at one point this rubbish thing which had, this is basically how you fight. And to be fair, it was to bring the price down, but I would always rather like the perfect world was that miniature rulebook.
You get what they do now is they give you the basic rules for free online. So this is how to shoot, this is that. But any of the the USRs and all the special rules and things like that, you have to read. You have to have the book. So you can technically play with the basics if you want to, but if you want anything extra like our army composition and things like that, you need obviously the other books.
So what do you think it should sort of include then?
If it's in this case,
it can be the bare bones, or
in this case,
we're not talking specifically about this in case. In this particular case, it has the full rule book.
I know, but I think in this case, what they are doing is they are giving. So that book. Well, how much is that book on its own? Do you know how much that book is on its own?
It's got to be about £10
for an art. Well, how much is it?
Not a massive rule book.
Let's see. What's it called? Armada.
Oh no, sorry. Full rulebook, including tokens, worth 30. You buy the rulebook and the tokens together. So it would normally be £30 if I had the rulebook and the tokens.
So this set is £30, rulebook, tokens, and 2 ships.
Yeah, so basically, if you were to buy the rulebook and the tokens alone, it would cost you 30 quid.
Yeah, so you're getting 2 ships free.
You're getting the ships and the summary sheets and the
so I can
playmat.
understand as a sort of as a way to get a gateway into that game. That's not a bad idea, because you're getting basically what they're doing is they're selling you a rulebook and the tokens. They're sweetening the deal with a couple of ships and a playmat that probably costs them $5 or not even that and stuff. And so they're like,
the playmat paper.
Yeah, paper. Yeah, so this kind of then a pence. It's not going to cost them that much, and then hopefully they'll get you hooked and you'll buy more things and stuff. So that's
if we're talking about this specific scenario, I don't think they needed to give the full rule book. Like I think it's almost crazy that they've included it. Like I think the price even further.
We see just so let's just say, right. So you see a game and it's the bare bones and it's relatively cheap. You go in, you get your 2 ships, you get the bare bones, or you get the bare bones sort of rules, you get a few tokens and stuff. It doesn't really make you want to play more because there's no expansion on it, whereas if you get the main rule book with all the extra fluff and all the stuff, like, oh, look at all these other ships and all these other things you can get and all this other rules that you can do and stuff like that, you're gonna go, oh, I love the look of that, I like the look of that and stuff. You're not going to get that with basic rules and stuff, whereas all the other rules, you go, wow, that ship has does this, or that ship does this, or I can do this if I have that. Makes you as a way to sort of sell things. Having the main rule book in there, I think, helps sell stuff. Plus, 1, because you're thinking, I'm getting this cheaper, and 2, it's a good promotional tool because they're kind of going, well, I've got this, and they're going, oh, I want to buy all these other things as well.
Okay, so that's for this specific example then. It was probably a good idea. But in general, like most starter sets sit around, this is much, much cheaper. I would say £100 easily is sort of your average starter set, not just going on Games Workshop, just in sort of overall bolt action, etc. We're going to have a look at a couple of other examples of other wargames, so we can correct me if I'm wrong. But in that £100, would you rather the price be higher and include the full rulebook, or would you prefer like a miniature version?
I would always prefer the full rulebook and stuff. Like I don't think there's anything I would. I don't buy like like Games Workshop do, like they were doing sort of like really small starter sets where you got like really you got cardboard terrain, like old school cardboard terrain, and you got some basic rules and you got a couple of guys and stuff. I'd steer away from them because it doesn't make me want to play with anything else, and it's just like, because it doesn't really sort of. I think as a present, you're getting your kid and stuff, like, oh, look, there's a few Space Marines and stuff in there. And, you go, it's sort of, it's something. But I would always want a full rulebook. And I'm trying to think if there's any war games I've got or bought that don't have full rules with them.
Did you buy the Titanicus main? What was it called? The Ultimate Emperor Edition or whatever it was called.
Yes.
Because that one made me laugh on release because it didn't have the rulebook in it. The rulebook was sold separately as like £30, but it came with loads of tokens and a really nice rulebook, to be fair. That made me laugh buying that.
I got the when it first came out, but it had a rulebook.
Not the biggest one. The biggest one was just this ginormous box. It's called something like Masters, Emperor's box, whatever. And it didn't have a rulebook, and there was this big outcry because everyone was like, "Are you for real? This doesn't have it." And they were like, "Well,
I think maybe that wasn't intentional, but I like the box I got when it got first announced, and I got 2 of them, and they had the rulebooks and stuff in them, so it wasn't like, I don't think I've got anything that doesn't have the full rules in it and stuff. So like full rules are, in my mind, a necessity unless you're sort of literally cutting the price right down to bare bones and it's it's a little crappy starter set for somebody who really just maybe wants to paint some guys and okay, there is some rules there. It's sort of a small, if maybe they're more of a painter, and then they're like, but maybe you could play the game and you can have other things and stuff, and here you go, here's some basic rules and stuff. Or it's a young kid and they don't want anything, they're not going to get into anything. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I remember my dad got me the Rogue Trader, the full rule book, which I fully didn't understand when I was a kid, but all the pictures, the pretty pictures and stuff was enough to get me sort of into getting more stuff. So
I personally would actually go the opposite way. I would rather they reduce the price and put in a rule book that is like a summary of the rules, for two reasons. One, I like a big chunky tome. I want that fancy limited edition rule book with all the fluff and the pretty pictures and etc. But the old 40k manuals, they used to have the rules for like all the different armies in it as well. I don't want that in my summary rulebook, because the rulebook I want to take to tournaments is the small one. So I don't want I don't want to go to the point where it's so flimsy that it's frankly just a useless piece of paper that teaches you what weapon skill is and what strength is. But I also don't want the massive tome. I want like the one in between, which a lot of them did. Mantic do it, Games Workshop did it. You're saying now that
Fantasy Flight are quite good at giving you get with Fantasy Flight games, you generally get a main rulebook, a quick start, and you get a glossary, and the glossary is generally quite useful and stuff.
They're more of a board game company than a
obviously
game company.
They used to obviously do X-Wing and Armada and stuff like that, and they are sort of war games.
Dice. What about if they're special dice?
Yeah,
or does that piss you off when game systems use anything other than a D6?
I like, I'm a sort of I'm a magpie nerd who likes dice and stuff, so I've got lots of different systems with different types of dice on them and stuff. I can name a few systems which have got specialized dice for them. So Blood Bowl was all specialized dice. Company of Heroes got specialized dice. Let me see what we've got around here that has special.
What is the biggest crime someone can commit with a D6?
Oh, I've no idea. What?
Putting the logo on the 1 rather than the 6.
Yeah.
Oh,
that being said,
no.
Games Workshop put the skull when they had sort of like the Apocalypse dice. The skull was always on the 1. So people are going,
was there something nice on the 6?
No, it was just a 6. But it was just
the
skull was on the 1 just because obviously it meant death and stuff. So I thought that was quite cool. Though it's annoying because I can't find my I've got a big thing of dice that's gone missing, like a massive sort of collection of dice. Not that I need them, but I had this massive black velvet sort of bag from back in the days in my old in Denton, where I had loads of dice. I have no idea where they are. I have no idea where they've gone, and it's really annoying me because there was like a lot of sort of all my sort of Apocalypse dice were in there. I have just no idea where they are.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
They're going to be expensive to replace.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up we have this mat. How do you? I mean, again, try and think of this from the sort of the aspect of someone who's buying a starter set to get into starting. Famously, I'm sure the listeners know your hatred of terrain and how you have too much of it, etc. So obviously a playmat, I feel like, is probably almost like you're like, oh, what's the point in a playmat? Just because you're always going to make your own. But what do you think about including a playmat?
Yeah, I'm like, it depends on the game. If it's a game like 40k or one of those war games where you're sort of kind of, it's meant to anticipate that you're going to make your own board, then I don't think it's necessary. If it's a game like this where it's on the sea, and sea mats and things like that aren't as sort of like you don't
have a green board at home.
and it's sort of like and having ships on a table, whereas if you've got a bunch of guys on a table, you can kind of go, this is such and such a terrain. But if you've got ships, it kind of needs to be and you need to kind of have some sort of mat. again, Dust Tactics or Dust Warfare, Dust Tactics, Dust Warfare, Dust 1947, they always came with poster mats. Now they're originally when Fantasy Flight did it, they gave you card. Like you know the stuff I made the because you used to get those my terrain, my terrain. So you used to get that's what the boards used to be that, and then they changed.
The board is divided into
squares.
Isn't it? Like,
so they did the same, so they brought in a new starter set, which was smaller version of the original one, and you got poster mats in it and stuff, and I still use those. It was good because you could they were both double-sided, and you could sort of fit them together with other ones and stuff like that. And they're a bit flimsy, but for the price of what the game was and stuff, it was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Plus, it's specialized because the Dust Tactics, as was at the very start, was just square based. It was literally you move in squares, and there was no other games that did that at the time, or war games like that did it. These were big squares, so you had units within these squares, and you moved the whole unit into another square and stuff like that.
Dead Zone does the same thing. It has squares, and so it provides the map. But an interesting one would be something like Legion. So, do you have a Legion starter set?
Star Wars Legion?
Or yeah. Have you ever opened it?
I have. I've got some Death Troopers painted.
Do you remember what comes inside of it?
You've got Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker.
The map. Sorry, for the map.
No, don't.
So what they've got is just 4 little, not rectangles, but 4 little corner pieces.
All right,
to donate the edges of the battlefield. Has Games Workshop ever done anything like that?
No, that's a very Fantasy Flight thing to do, though. They do that with X-Wing and stuff like that as well, where you sort of kind of it's just like this is the edge of the board. No, the Games Workshop have never done that. They've literally, it used to be those really garish green mats that they used to get, those green sort of grass mats, like everybody had one of those and stuff. And then they went, oh, we're going to do these 3D boards and stuff, which look cool, but trying to balance stuff on these things was a nightmare.
It felt like you were fighting on the same battlefield over and over. It was better when they brought out the one that was just all cobblestones, but then I was a bit like, ugh, 300 quid. And I was always worried that they would get scratched. And also, I love neoprene. If you sell me a neoprene mat, I'll be your friend.
Yeah,
so
I think
sold.
Neoprene mats are definitely a good thing. Obviously, there's no elevations. Obviously, it's not realistic when it comes to elevation. That's why I think, especially like you don't really get many hills and stuff in 40k games. It's just like terrain, and there's no elevation other than the buildings and stuff like that. Whereas in sort of more historical war games, you will get people using hills and things like that. It's more realistic, but
I thought it would work out. I thought I was sharing when I said oof. I just put up on the screen the neoprene deluxe gaming mat. So this is the full-size mat, neoprene for Armada. Have a guess how much it is. So I'll tell you the size. It's 120 by 120 centimeters. How much do you think that neoprene mat is?
And this is a Mantic one?
This is a Mantic one. So the sample set is £30. This is the full-size deluxe neoprene mat.
120 and 120. What is that in feet? What's inches? Is it centimeters? So
120 centimeters. Yeah.
120 centimeters.
Meter and a fifth.
Okay, so it's meter.
4 foot. 4 foot. 4 foot by 4 foot.
There's 72 inches. How many centimeters are there in an inch? Oh my god, I don't know and stuff. What size is it? I'm gonna have to do conversions here now.
It's about 4 foot. 4 foot.
4 by 4.
Yeah.
4 by 4. Okay. A 6 by 4 neoprene mat would probably be, depending, anywhere between 50 and 75, I'd say. So I'm gonna say 60 quid.
Okay, 45. So
Yeah.
it's cheaper than you sort of thought.
Yeah.
But again, that's because me and you are, we've been doing this a long time. So 45 seems reasonable to us. I'd imagine to a new player that would just seem appalling. But, it's not necessary. And they do provide you a nice paper one as the cheaper alternative. So what are we going to rate this out of 10? As a starter set for getting you into the game.
I'm actually going to change mine because I was like, oh, 2 models, but for 30 quid, you're getting you're basically getting everything you need. The models are just extras. So, yeah, I think that's, as a starter set, I give that a good 8 out of 10.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean, the price of it is it gets you into it. I think that's the
you're getting the book, so you're just getting a couple of models. If you're only bearing in mind, especially these days when you're buying anything, 30 quid and you're getting full rulebook tokens and a couple of models is nothing. Bear in mind, like paint sets and stuff are more than that, and so yeah, I think that's a really good that's a good cost, and it's a good deal.
Okay, so that's 2 models in £15. Let's look at one now that gets you just a couple more models, shall we?
I've got all 3, man. I got now the British, the French, and the Prussians.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so if we have a look at this, so what we wanted from a gaming set, we agreed that we would like tokens. If appropriate, we would like a battlefield map. It would be nice, but not necessary, because obviously if it's a true blue war game, then that's not really going to be practical. Dice, we don't really care about. We wanted a decent number of models, although if you can expand it in different ways, it is nice. Because that's the thing, isn't it? That Armada set, you can buy it, and then you can choose which models you want, rather than being forced down a rabbit hole of you always get these. Because how many times have we doubled up? Because I don't know about you, but anytime I buy Warhammer products, that's a starter set, I will buy it with someone else, get 2 of them, and then do a swap. And you sometimes end up with duplicates of special characters. That's probably on us, but everyone does that. Everyone does that. So, which one do you want to use as someone who owns all 3? Which one do you think best represents it? Or
they're all the same. It's just one forces. So you've got a starter set. It's exactly the same. It's just it comes with the main rulebook, which is both sets of factions. So it's a full rulebook. You get a full rulebook. You get some terrain.
Is the rulebook specific to that faction?
No, it's for both. It's both sets.
And that's a full size rulebook.
Yeah, well, I'd say full size. It's it's not it's thick, but it's sort of you can see that it's probably about that.
Yeah, it gives you everything that you want to.
Everything in it. It's thick, but it's not cumbersome. It's not like the 40k ones. You got these big, massive things. I don't think wargamers.
What's this? Is this MDF terrain?
Yeah, you get MDF. That is the Bell Alliance. That's where Napoleon. That's the center of the Napoleon. That's the Bell Alliance. That's where Napoleon was stationed.
And do you get the same piece of terrain in each of the 3 sets?
No, you get the British one. You get Le Haye-Saint. You get Le Haye-Saint, and you get Le Haye-Saint and Hougoumont, which are bigger. I think in the French one you get. Oh, wait a minute. Depends on what version of the starter set you get. If you just get the starter set, I think you just get a specific single building, which I think is different each turn. But if you get one of the bulk deals, so check. So yeah, in this one you get La Belle Alliance and stuff. Check one of the other ones. Check the French one.
French.
What do you get?
Definitely looks like a different house.
Yeah, so you get a different building. Yeah, so in the starter set you get one MDF. You basically get one different MDF building, and the other stuff. If you do the bundle, which I did, they give you free extra terrain. So I got Le Hougoumont. I've got basically all the main buildings for Waterloo now with the 3 starter sets. But yeah, so you get one MDF building with it.
So that's the only terrain you get with. So we get the rulebook, we get a single piece of terrain, and then we get just an absolute ton of models. I think of all the sets we're going to sort of look at here, this one wins through sheer bulk.
So I can't read it there. So read out what your Read out what you
You
got.
get 10 units of light infantry, 80 men per unit. So 10. So you get 800 models. 3 units of skirmishing. I wish I'd chosen the French one. I mean the British one now, because at least I'd know what the heck the words were. 3
Voltigeurs.
units of skirring voltigeurs. 13
Voltigeurs, yeah.
bases of 6 men each. So that's another 100 odd men. 1 unit of cuirassiers.
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 Yeah,
One
so
unit
the-
of dragoons. I recognise that word.
Cuirassiers are the ones with the
1 unit of-
cuirasses. The cuirasses, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
1 unit of hussars.
Hussars, yeah. Light cavalry.
1 unit of chasseurs, a cheval.
Chasseurs de cheval, yeah. Heavy cavalry.
Oh, right, okay. 1 unit of lancers.
Yep.
I would have thought that would have been the heavy cavalry.
No, lancers are light cavalry. They're just sort of lancers, yeah.
16 artillery pieces, 9 brigade commanders, De Costerhuis MDF Scenery piece, and bespoke A5 soft. So they've got the soft back,
Rulebook.
that I like.
Yeah,
it is.
It's handy and stuff. I mean, you get one in each starter set, so it's easier to flick through and just to have the hand and stuff. You just get because it's a war game, and most war gamers who are into this sort of thing are older men who have fuck tons of scenery anyway. It's not a massive issue and stuff, so it's all about getting as many models as possible, and I have literally got thousands of them now.
Yeah, I just want to point that out to anyone that's considering, going into this game, sort of reenacting Waterloo, or they also do a couple of others. Do they do a fantasy one as well?
Not an epic. So in epic they've got epic battles. They've got Gettysburg. So they've got Civil War and they've got Waterloo. They do have a fantasy and a sci-fi game for Warlord, but I'm not sure if it's in 15mm. I think it's in 28mm.
The Hail Caesars in
yeah.
I don't love the models, which is a shame because I'm a massive Roman fan. I go for Victrix personally. I just wanted to point out to anyone listening and going at £95, that's completely out here for one faction. If you're thinking that's absolutely ridiculous, there are much more affordable ways into this Black Powder Epic Games. For example, here's the French Infantry Brigade. So this is the small start set for the French. £26.50, much more affordable, approachable price. And in that, Viva l'Empereur, a cry from thousands of proud gentlemen. Well, I mean, that's false advertising. Don't get thousands of them. So let's see. Do you have a nice... Okay.
You get a brigade, so you get... so there is 20 in a base, and you get how many? You get 5. You get maybe 100, 200, 300. You probably got about 400, 300, 400.
So you get 3 French line or light infantry regiments of 80 men each. You get 24 Voltigeur skirmishers, 3 gunfoot artillery, 6 PDR battery, and a mounted brigade commander. So you get enough to play a game. However, you don't get the rulebook in it. How much is the rulebook? Can you buy that? I mean, with other people buying, like you, multiple sets, I'm sure there'll be...
I'm not sure. You will be able to buy the rulebook on its own. I can't remember. It's not going to be too expensive though, because it literally is just a paperback.
Worth pointing out as well, Black Seas is compatible with Armada. Mantix Armada is actually based on Black Seas. I also have a Black Sea fleet because, of course, I do. So let me just quickly find here where am I looking for? I'm looking for epic battles. If they do an epic one where they do fantasy, they've sold on me. Here you go. So £20 for the rulebook.
Yeah, 20 quid for the rulebook. So 20 quid.
So that's
That's rulebooks go. It's not.
So
not
just shy of £50 will get you everything. So it's cheaper than the 95 if you wanted to go down that route. So if we judge it on this, then. So we don't. I'm afraid I haven't played the game, so I don't know how important scenery is.
It is important.
If some of the movies I've watched, it is important. Okay, so we don't have terrain. We don't appear to have tokens. Is it not a token-heavy game?
With a lot of war games, it's literally you put a dice beside it to notate sort of damage, or you put a piece of paper beside it to notate damage and stuff like that. It's like Warlord are very old school with their sort of their war games and stuff, so it's all about sort of you use other things. Again, terrain's important. Like if you start, you need some sort of grass mat, or you need trees, and you need hills and things like that, or you need some more terrain to go with it, or you're not going to really have. I suppose you could have an open field and you're just going to slog it out, but to make it, I think most war gamers in that ilk, they make a lot of their terrain themselves. It's not too hard, I guess, but it's more about how many guys you can get, and there's a little bit of terrain in it for you and stuff. Like I got it simply because you're going to get a lot of guys. I have so much terrain that I didn't really need it, so it didn't bother me.
Okay, so but based on our criteria, how are we judging this as a starter set?
Well, how much does it cost again? So for that starter set,
£95.
So 95 quid. So you're getting a rule book, which is 20. Did you say 20?
Yeah, £20.
And you're getting
one single MDF building,
and you're getting
tons of guys.
You're getting 3 battalions or 3 brigades, are you, or 4 brigades? I think you get 4 brigades in a box. How many? So what have you got? How many infantry are you getting? So you're getting
10 units of 80 men. So 3 units of skirmishing voltaires, and then a whole bunch of specialist units, which I don't think you get.
So look, like how many? So if you go to the, actually, I'll open up myself.
So it's not really about how many models you have. If it's by how many models this wins hands down.
No,
what do you think about?
I'm talking about sort of economy here. So we're talking about
I'm sure it's a decent saving, but we're talking about as a starter set for someone getting into it.
If you want saving on some models, it depends on how you want to. If you want to start it just to play straight away, you need both, because you need the French. Because as a starter sets go, it's not a starter set because you can only play the British. It's either British or French, so you need both of them. Which is, it's not a good starter set in the sake, and in that it's to get somebody into the game, because you're only getting one faction. What they've done, they're just maximizing, because they're thinking, wargamers, well, one person's going to just buy the French, or somebody's just going to buy the British. There's not going to be idiots out there who buy the French, the British, and the Prussians.
Yeah. If you wanted to get into the game, though, it's actually not too bad, because if you wanted to buy 2 factions, £26 a pop for 2 starter boxes, and then £20 for the rulebook. So you'd actually be, if you're purely going for the cheapest route possible for 2 factions in a rulebook, you'd be talking £75 instead of £95.
Let me just do some quick math on the economics of that. Everything on it. It is, so it's Warlord, Warlord Games, UK. Right, so Epic Battles, Waterloo. So 95 quid, and you get... Oh, come on, open up. Put open one of the starter sets just for a single set of infantry.
Okay.
So what do you get in a single set of infantry, a single brigade box?
A single brigade box, the kind of one that popped up for me automatically this time, and now I'm having to scroll for it. Why are you not in here? Why are you not? What? Right, if I just click on French, there you go. Let's go French.
That's the cavalry. Cavalry. There you go. There. So you get 1, 2, 3 brigades and a light brigade plus some cannons. So you're basically getting, for the sake of what, 20? How much? Sorry,
2650.
2650 for 4. So in a starter box, you're getting 2.5 brigades of infantry. Actually, no, you're not, because you're getting rifles. You're getting 3 brigades of infantry, which is 75 quid, isn't it? For 3, it's 26, 70. I know, 72. So we'll say 75 for the sake of it. 75. So you're getting 70. You're getting 3 brigades. You're also getting 1 unit of heavy dragoons, 1 unit of Scots Grey. So you're getting 2 brigades of cavalry. Again, so that's another 20. So you're getting, that's like over 100 quid now already. Then you're getting an MDF piece. And then you're getting the book. So you're basically getting probably about 150 quid's worth, maybe slightly more, on its for 95 quid. So economically, the starter set's pretty good.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, if you were to buy those boxes individually, it would probably cost you another 50 quid on top of it and stuff. So it's not good for your generic as a starter set for somebody getting into the game, but for the sake of economics and getting as many guys as possible, the starter sets, you know, you're getting a 50% saving on there.
Very good.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, that's kind of what you're looking for. You're looking for that cost saving.
Yeah. So it's not good for it's not good. It's not good. It depends for a starter set for somebody who just wants to get into, based on our criteria. It's not a very good starter set in that.
So what are you giving out of 10?
For our criteria, it's probably a 5 out of 10 and stuff. It's not a good, but for economics, it's like an 8 or a 9 out of 10 and stuff. So if you want something that is just go, if you're not one of those people, so you got to think there's going to be 2 types of people. When I buy a starter set, it's not because I want both sets of people and stuff. So if I go 40k, I get a starter set. I don't want the orcs. I don't want the Tau. I just want the Space Marines and stuff like that. Back in the day, they used to swap them out, and you could have 2 sets of Space Marines or whatever and stuff like that. But
now you got to find someone on the internet to do it.
Yeah. Whereas this one, they know people just want one faction and stuff, so there's like, right, so what, instead of having that other faction, just jam everything into one, so you get double the amount of models that you want without having to go and sort of traipse around trying to find somebody who's going to swap with you and stuff. Because anytime a new box comes out, there's always things online going, I'll swap this half for these. So that gets it out of the way. So for your kid who just wants to play with their dad, for a family type thing where they want to try and get into something new, it's not a great starter set. For somebody who's into war games and stuff like that and is looking for economy, it's a really, really good deal.
I on a side note, every time I go somewhere to try and find the British Highlanders, because who else would I play? They're always sold out.
I've got some Highlanders. I've got Highlanders. Don't you worry, I've got Highlanders.
Yeah, but you won't let me paint yours, so I need to get my own. Right, our first Games Workshop IP, and in all sense of fairness, I am going to pull out. Is it my favorite? I'm not sure if it's my favorite Games Workshop IP. Lord of the Rings is very good, but I do very much enjoy Warcry. So Warcry, at the time that it came out, let's see what price it's going for on Amazon. I'd be surprised if it's not sold out. It was very hard to get hold of. Doesn't really say a price. So this is saying here, this was £100 at time of release. It was just a ginormous box. It comes with 2 different factions as well as a bunch of monsters. It comes with terrain, a playmat, dice, reference cards, which I love reference cards. I know that in terms of practicality, they're not amazing because when you want to do things like FAQs, it's going to kind of drag things down a little bit. It comes with the core rulebook, the full rulebook, and it comes with tokens. But my favorite thing probably out of all of it is the twist deck. So you got 4 decks. You flip over 1 card. That tells you how you're going to set up the battlefield using the pre-available terrain. You flip over another card to choose sort of this mission that you're going to be doing. So whether it's going after objectives or killing people. You flip over another one for deployment. You break your warband into 3. So you've got shield, sword, and hammer. And that card's going to tell you, 1, where they come in, and 2, when they come in, because it's not always round 1. And then finally, you have a twist card, which means something happens. So maybe you get extra movement, maybe visibility's cut down, maybe there's a rogue unit of evil bat vulture things trying to eat everyone, and that's running amok. Definitely, I don't want to bias your opinion on it, but it's one of my favourites now. £100, quite a lot of money, not unsubstantial, but not out of the realms of possibility compared to the other games that we've seen. How do you feel about the Warcry start set?
So how many models do you get?
In total, I believe it's about 30 models, as well as all of that plastic terrain.
So you're getting 30 models, you're getting that
So
terrain,
five
tokens.
vultures, five gargoyles, and then there's roughly 10 people each. Yeah, so 30 of them, and then all that terrain.
For 100 quid, and
And
you're getting the full
rule
you're getting the full rule
four
book.
card decks.
See,
Each card deck has between 25 and 30 models.
Games like that and Kill Team and stuff like that, I think, are quite. They're not, because you don't really need anything else. It's like they're encompassed within that game and stuff. That sort of,
they're almost a board game.
They are for all intents and purposes. You don't need to expand much more on what you have. You can do and stuff. Like I like Shadespire. I've got some stuff which I've never kind of. I just got it for the models and stuff. But it is an all-encompassing sort of game. You get everything in there that you would want as a starter set. 100 quid, is it worth it? Well, let's see, 30 models. You're looking, so that's two sets, two starter sort of boxes of sort of infantry. They're usually about 25 quid each. So that's 50 quid. Terrain would probably.
Well, remember, there's the creatures as well, so it's got to be at least 3 sets.
Okay, right. So yeah, so you're and then terrain books, So yeah, 100 quid. It's a lot of money. Again, it's one of those things. I think it's good value for what it is, but and it's all it's
£35 if you were to buy any of these Warcry units by themselves. £35.
Oh yeah, so okay, there you go. Well, yeah, that's just Games Workshop hiking prices up and stuff like that. But I think for value, based on what you can actually buy for them, buy them individually, it's good value. You've got everything in the box, so that's good. It's got everything you would need to play that game. There's no sort of faffing around outside of it. You have everything there in one box to play all that you need to, and that for me is a good thing. 100 quid, yeah, I guess it's not going to be good for 100 quid, still a lot of money, and your average sort of not a lot of people have a lot of money to spend on these big board games and stuff like that, but I guess
I mean, if you justify it in terms of that terrain, because it is some of my favorite terrain. I've actually got 2 sets of it. It took me literally years. I only managed to find a second set like a month or 2 months ago, and I bought it just straight away. The guy was like 50 quid. I was like, here you go. Like, take my money, because I really like the terrain. Like, it's got such good modularity and like the ladders and stuff like that. It's good chunky terrain.
Yeah, I was watching some guys play it yesterday and stuff. It's like the only thing that gets me, because I'm a goody two shoes, and I kind of like playing good guys and stuff. And as much as Space Marines or Space Fascists, they're still technically good guys. But yeah, it looks like a good game. I think value wise, and I think having everything encapsulated, and there's no sort of like, you need this as well or you need that. Obviously you can buy different factions if you want to and stuff, but everything's in one box. I think you're looking a good, again, 8 or 9 out of 10 for sort of everything.
I really like that. Like,
yeah, everything.
I'd be almost tempted to go to a 10, to be honest with you. The only thing that you might need, and it's not a need, it's optional, is the Compendium. And what the Compendium has is the rules, not only for every official Warcry faction ever released, but also rules for every faction in Age of
Sigmar.
Age of Sigmar, yeah. So if you're like, oh, you know what, I want to play it with this sort of faction, you can do that, and you can just start playing.
Oh wait, so you can't play Warcry with like Eternals with Stormcast and stuff. Yeah, okay.
Any? Sorry. I say any. I don't think Sons of Bahamut in here, but hopefully that's forgivable, considering an entire army of them is 2 models.
Yeah. Okay, yeah,
But
cool.
yeah, and I think that's it didn't used to be this way. There was no other way apart from buying the units to get the rules. But I think just it's been long enough now, and they know that it's on the internet. If we at least make it a single book that people can carry, they're more likely to buy it.
Mhm.
And I like that. £27.50,
Yeah.
not too
I
bad.
wouldn't 10 out of 10 it because you have to. There is one other thing that you kind of need it, but yeah, it's quite high there. I think as
I mean, you
start
don't
as
need it. It's basically every expansion you'd ever need.
yeah. I think if you've got everything, if it's all inclusive, if it's literally got everything you would ever need, then you should, it's a good thing. And 100
So,
quid, 100 quid for what you're getting based on Games Workshop prices isn't too bad.
so that was the £100 one. So that one is now like 6 years old. This is the new one. So this is the new Warcry edition.
There's not as much training on that, is there?
Well, it's kind of hard to say. It's different terrain, but it definitely feels less to me. You also don't get the roving warband, so you don't get the like the mad little goblin things. In terms of model count, well, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. We'll say 20. Let's say I missed it. So you're actually getting less models in here. Although it's one of those things is, obviously prices are going to go up, and they're more detailed, I guess, as well. You still get your core rule book. But what do you think about this one?
How much is it
In
costing?
terms of sort of a first glance before I tell you the price.
It's
So
gonna
you're
be
still
like
getting your tokens, you're still getting your flip decks.
I don't think
You get
it doesn't
endless models.
look as good as value picture wise and stuff from that picture compared to the other one. I don't feel like you're getting as much value for your money. I guarantee it's going to be like 125 quid or something stupid like that as well.
140.
Fuck yeah,
140. Yeah.
it's definitely not as good value for money. Like it's not, even with increases and stuff, that's you know that's a
Getting
6
up there.
or a 7 just because of the price and stuff. It's like, yeah, fine, it has pretty much everything you need in there, but at 140 quid for a starter set's absolutely insane. Why? It's just sort of, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely getting up there. So what we got, our average average sort of units are now £35. The terrain. So each of the so with Warcry, I mean you can play on anything if you want to, because obviously you can just put in any sort of terrain that you own. But most of the that first deck when you're setting up the terrain is based on that. So £67.50. So this would be like just a new mat. I don't believe it comes with cards. I could be wrong. Um, I know past ones did come with. It must come with some kind of cards. Um, Training box also includes the battlefield, so it comes with a mat. Um, it also contains 2 double-sided token boards. So it comes with tokens. Do you see cards in there?
No.
Activations, objectives. There must be cards. Because in all the past ones, because the terrain is unique to Warcry, I'm not sure. I don't see it there. Do you? Cards, folding board, purple size, where one side features blah blah blah. It also includes 2 double-sided tokens for a total of 79 tokens used for tracking objectives and more. I don't see the card deck in there. That's a darn shame if it doesn't include the card decks, because that was one of the best things about the other sets. Is, for example, you'd buy the Mausoleum set and it would give you a whole new pack of cards for use with that particular bit of terrain.
Mm.
Hmm,
Yeah.
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely not value for money. I think, Games Workshop are obviously increasing prices have gone up with inflation, blah blah blah. But the value for money is just not there.
I guess it depends, like where you're defining the sort of the value for money from.
Models
Although
and
having said that,
content. Bear in mind what you've got in
it's
your last one.
£35. Yeah, so what £35, £35, that's £70. And then the terrain there is 67.50. Let's call that 70. That's 140, and then the rule book. So it's a saving of like 23 quid, versus buying it all separately. I suppose you don't get the card deck. That is disappointing then, if they don't do the card decks anymore,
No.
because that was one of the biggest thing for me. Having a war game where I've just flipped over a card. See if someone ever wants to design a Kickstarter, and maybe I'll do it one day if I ever get around to it. That would be a Kickstarter that I think would be killing. Would you pay for, let's say you paid £10 for a pack of cards, and basically you pull out your cards, you flip over the card, and it has a balanced battlefield already designed for you that's thematic. So it's like two buildings across from each other with barriers and stuff laid out for you, but in like a balanced way. Do you think you would pay for something like that?
Well, they Games Workshop do that, don't they? They have
Really?
they have card decks for setting up battlefields.
What, in the position of terrain?
Yeah, terrain position stuff and
Get
things.
out of here. What's this called? Oh my goodness.
It's in 40k. I think you can get you basically get it's
I
something.
don't even know what it would be under.
Go
Terrain?
go
Ways
to.
to play?
I'm gonna have to. Oh,
Game boards,
game.
Warzone buildings, obstacles.
I see, because I've got some for the last edition. I think.
Because I knew there was one that sort of tells you like deployment zones. Would it be under data cards?
Workshop. Oh, maybe it is just deployment zones. Oh, yeah, maybe it is data
Because I
cards.
got the deployment zone one, but if you tell me open war, is it that one?
Open war cards. Yeah, I think it might be open war cards.
No, I don't think it's quite the same thing. I don't think it gives you the position of buildings. I mean, don't get me wrong, that kind of stuff is still handy. Yeah, it's got deployment and it's got twist and it's got objectives. So it's got 3 of the 4 elements out. But to be honest with you, none of those are the one that I want, because I agonize over terrain. I'm like, oh, is this fair? Is it balanced? And I would just love a card deck. You flip it out, and even maybe even more simplified. It just, instead of telling me it's 2 building, it says this is heavily fortified, this is heavily fortified, light, 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 light. Encumbering, and you would just have color codes for the area, and then you would put the terrain you want down. I know that sounds really dumb. It's like, oh, you could do it yourself. Stop being lazy, but it just means there's no arguing with your opponent. You just flip over a card, right? This is layout, quick, set up the table. It takes 5 minutes instead of the 30 minutes of, well, if I put that here, but oh, I don't know if I get this side of the board, but the roll off, and oh, I hate that.
Yeah. So yeah, the new war cry, I don't think it's good value for money, and I don't think it's good for a starter set as well. It's expensive. It is. It's all encompassing, but it's like it's too expensive for a starter set. So it's like, in theory, it has everything you need, but it's 140 quid for a starter set. It's too much.
The £100 for me, like I said, is one of my favorites, I think, of all time. And you see here that clearly these companies have colluding is a strong word. I'm not going to say colluding, but definitely there's something going on here. The fact that what we've got here is another starter set at £95. There seems to be that sort of magic buzzword going on there. Now, where are we? It's all very well and good, but this is not what I'm wanting. I want to see the price of your box. So what have we got? We've got core rulebook and force list rulebook. So the core rulebook has all the rules that you need. Force list rulebook is the the specific one for the 2 factions you get. The starter leaflet is just just rules. So we've got 10 troopers, 1 hero, 10 of the opposite force, 2 nightmares, and 1 hero. We've got 12 bags of Battlezone scenery. So this is actual plastic scenery, including the all new Battlezone street accessories. We've got a paper gaming mat, a counter sheet, 8 command dice, and 8 d8s. Can we get a nicer photo? Let's see. Can I click on this? No. Need a little extra get started. Come on, website. I want to. Why is there not like a picture of what's inside of it? You're not telling me that. Have I clicked on the wrong one? Is that what it is? If so, fair play. But I would have guessed. View the range, dead zone. Well, I guess. I mean, this looks like it's the sale page. Here we go. That's better. That's a better picture there.
One thing
No, don't think-
I'm not a massive fan, like, because I obviously, when Dead Zone first came out, I got the 2 boxes. That you got most of my terrain now, I think. Actually, you got everything. I think I swapped it for you. I swapped.
I've got everything.
Yeah. I didn't like the models, and the terrain I quite like simply because it's all modular. In a way, you can make a lot of different stuff out of it. But yeah, I just, the models didn't do me. I'm not a massive fan.
Yeah, what you have to remember is this is not a company that has hundreds of teams behind it. There's 20 of them now. At the time of the first edition, there's like 10 of them. So what have we got here? So there's the commander. There's the sort of the GCS troops. I mean, you can't tell me that's not the I don't know if it's on the screen yet. I can't remember if there's a delete. Can you see a giant rat man?
Yeah, rat ogre.
You can't say that that's not a nice model.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's come on a long way.
Yeah, again, like, from,
if you don't like that, you're not going to like the shitty.
I think
ones.
like the ones I think they were resin and like they look similar to
soft,
the
very
ones.
soft.
Yeah, it just, Mantic stuff currently doesn't really do it for me sculpt wise. I don't know, there's something about it. It doesn't really do a lot for me and stuff. Are they called the Enforcers? Are they or what were the sort of, or no, who were the guys of the arm?
They've been replaced by the sort of, these are the new models of that, and they're a lot better than the ones you would have had. The
basically Space Marines and different guys and stuff.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, the Enforcers are the sort of Space Marine dudes. These are the Astra Militarum dudes.
Yeah.
DCPS. You're quite right. The Enforcers are the ones in power armor.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think of these models? These are the new ones.
Yeah, they don't look too bad. They don't look too bad. I have a thing against thick bases that aren't beveled. I don't know what it is. I don't like them in I don't like them in Star Wars Legion, and I don't like, I like overly thin bases and overly thick bases annoy me for some reason. I like those little beveled edges, and I like it sort of, but it just, don't know what it is. It just,
I quite like the way they do these. So basically, what they have is a single circle beneath the feet. So there's a circle there connecting the feet, and then your base is a 28mm base, but it has a hollow insert for it. So instead of slaughter, which always left lots of space, it's just this thing in. The reason I like it is because it means that all your models have really strong connection points, but you've still got the ability to decorate the whole base and then add the model itself last. And I really appreciate that. So we've got the train, we've got the 2 different rule books, we've got all of the tokens, we've got a paper playing mat, and then we have some really nice sort of terrain. And again, everything you need, because the nice thing is, again, because this is a set battlefield, you know that you've got the right amount of terrain.
Yeah, I don't.
How are you feeling at £95 for this? How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good value for money, irrespective of your views on the models and stuff like that. I think the terrain's pretty good. It's modular. You're getting a fair few guys in there. You're getting everything. The battle, looking at that picture right there, that says to me, I look at that and I go, I'm getting a lot of terrain. I'm getting a lot of models. I'm getting both books. I'm getting counters. I'm getting dice. I'm getting everything for 95 quid. That's good. Bearing in mind that Warcry that we just saw, when I look at it, I don't see all of that. I see half the terrain and half the models, and I'm just like, for 140 quid, I was like, nah, that for me that's a good value. It's pretty much got everything you need to play a game. Yeah.
It's interesting to see, though, like, at what point do we allow for inflation? At what point will it be acceptable for more than 100? I don't know about you, but it certainly feels like inflation's going up faster than my wages are going up.
Well, it's like I said, man, it's like if all companies were sort of kind of like, well, it's inflation, so it'd affect everybody. But you've got a lot of, like I said, so you had Warlord games, so you sort of 95 quid for that Forward or Lead start set. You've got Mantic here for 95 quid for this, where you get a fair bit. And then you get Games Workshop going, yeah, we don't care, 140 quid. and you're getting half of what you're going to get in anything else, and they're going to go, yeah, but it's better quality and stuff. And it's like, fine, the models do look a bit better and stuff like that. Maybe the rule book's slightly thicker, and but they're just doing it because they're Games Workshop and they can, and that's it. They know people will buy it because it's Games Workshop. Mantic and sort of Warlord Games and the smaller companies and stuff have to sort of encourage people to buy their things, so they can't sort of play the name. It's like going to a shop and it's like, do you buy Asda own brand chocolate biscuits or do you buy McVitie's? You're going to buy McVitie's, even though they're probably the same thing and stuff like that. You're probably going to go for McVitie's.
It's funny, it depends what it is. For example, today I bought Morrison's own brand jam and Morrison's own brand peanut butter because they were like a third of the price of like the branded stuff. But then other stuff I would never cheap out on, like washing pods. I don't know why.
It's the thing is, they're all like apparently they're all made in the same factories and stuff like that. It's just
it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's just sort of like the name. And like there was a guy who was going on and he's like, why buy you should buy own brand sort of medicine and stuff because it's made by the same factories. It's just one's labeled anodine or whatever it is and the other isn't and stuff, and they're the same ingredients. So he goes to both boxes and you go, look, you can see they're exactly the same and all the ingredients, just so it's one is branded and one isn't and stuff. It's the same Games Workshop. It's like, fine, I think sculpts wise they probably have slightly better sculpts and things like that. In theory they could argue they're going to have better support, but
they've got brick and mortar, so they definitely have like more overhead. They've got more staff as well.
Exactly. So what they're so they're just kind of going, well, we can, because people see that first. Whereas Mantic and stuff, if you turned around your average Joe, if you went to a kid and you went, do you know Mantic? Mantic, what? They'd probably say no. Whereas he said, do you know Games Workshop? Do you know Warhammer? Yes. Even if they weren't probably super into it, they probably know it and stuff like that. And it
happens all the time on my courses. That people will be like, so if you're doing an icebreaker, what do you love as a hobby? And I'm like, I love painting miniatures. Because you always have to add the word miniatures. Because if you just leave it at painting, everyone's like, "Oh, really? That's really cool."
They're all thinking like
miniatures, like nerd. Yeah. I'm like, hang on a minute. The skill is still there. It's just I have a 3D sculpt to paint.
I say all the time. It's like I like painting models, and then they kind of go, "Ooh," and in their minds, it's like sort of like sort of what are they, still lifes or or something sort of artistic. It's not little space moon men that I sort of kind of paint and stuff, or toy soldiers and things.
So let's curve back round to Warlord then, since we were chatting about Warlord. So here we've got Bolt Action starter set, Band of Brothers. Now it has been a while since I played Bolt Action, so I can't. And I never bought. I had friends that were into Bolt Action, so I just immediately bought the starter set for the army, a bit like Black Powder, rather than buying things. So I'd never actually bought one of these, so I bought the separate book. So I just want to put that out there as like, bear it with a pinch of salt based on my opinion of this, because I've never bought one of these. So let's see, this is US Paratroopers Storm German Occupied Europe. We've got the rule book, second edition rule book with dice, again, specialist dice. We've got some little tokens there. We've got, again, based on my experience of Bolt Action, a nice healthy starter set. Troops are always good. It doesn't matter, obviously if you're going to play the specialist game where you want to go all tanks, that's fine. There are also many, many unit upgrades for this, but you will never, ever regret having at least 3 units of troops. That's fair. And then what have we got here? Oh, no, it's not 3 units of troops. It's we've got different factions here, don't we? So we've got the...
You got easy. You're gonna have Easy Company, and then you're gonna have Germans. It's gonna be.
Okay, so maybe this isn't the best representation. So what have we got? We've got the Band of Brothers there. We've got Germans. And we've got a tank. It's weird that photo before made it look like we had more.
So you've got half tracks, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14. So you got like 22 um, 22 from Easy Company, and then you've got like 14 and a half tracks for the Germans.
I don't know if this one's going to be a particularly great representation.
You got scroll up. What does it say in the list there? What has it got?
24 plastic US Airborne, 12 plastic German Grenadiers, plastic half track, plastic ruined building, A5 softback, quick start guide, quick reference, 12 plastic pin markers, plastic templates and tokens, construction diagrams, 10 6-sided dice, 10 order dice. Now, to be fair, that sounds like a decent starter, but it also sounds, what I'm concerned about is this the specialist one? I mean, it sounds like generic plastic US Airborne kit.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if it's the best. Let's go for Hail Caesar. There we go. Hail Caesar. If you never played SPQR, it's pretty good as well. It's like the skirmish version. Oh, come on. You must have a starter set. Just give me the starter set. There we go. Starter set. All right, here we go. £83 as well. Okay. Holy shit. It seems like it has way more than the other one, doesn't it? Ah, jeez.
Yeah, rank and flank games you generally do. Though I think, for me, I just like, because we play A Song of Ice and Fire, and this rank and flank I think should always be a smaller scale. I just don't understand why they make them bigger scales. It's just sort of, you want mass, you want it to look big and stuff like that. So having 28mm guys just doesn't make sense to me.
So we've got 80 Celtics, we've got 40 Romans, a Scorpion, an Imperial Officer, and a Chieftain.
You're not getting as many templates and stuff like that, but you're just getting more miniatures. And the other one, I think you're getting more templates and dice and things like that. Whereas in this one, it's
counters for casualties, etc., and you get in the main rulebook. Again, I think that's a great starter set.
Yeah, 83 quid for
a lot. About value for money.
83 quid for, well, bear in mind, right? 83 quid, you're getting basically a pound of, how many guys are you getting in that?
120 and then 4 special things.
Yeah, so you're getting like, it's not even a pound it's not even a pound a miniature.
80p, something like
that.
Yeah,
so that's like stupid cheap. That's the amount of models you're getting, and they're 28mm. So, even if you wanted them just sort of make a diorama or something, it's well worth it. So.
Yeah, again, the quality of the miniatures is fine. Do you know what? There is something really appealing about them because you can tell that they're hand sculpted.
Yeah,
like they feel like they're still. I mean, look at that chainmail. You can't. That is not sculpted on a computer. Do not tell me that's sculpted. This is a beautiful example of like someone going in there with green stuff.
Yeah. Like that's the one thing. Warlord stuff again. It's the sculpts aren't great. That's why it's not as bad for 15. The 28mm stuff I'm not overly keen on. 15mm stuff I can deal with because it's 15mm and it's you're not going to get a lot of detail. Yeah. I've got past it because like when I was growing up and it didn't mind because everything was hand sculpted. Now because 3D printers and sort of modeling on computers and stuff, you can get really sort of good sort of sculpts and things. It's just like I'm a bit more iffy about when I get models. That's why I suppose Games Workshop kind of go, well, we're going to pay more because our stuff's a lot prettier.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't know what sort of going into it. I tend to use not the Warlord stuff. I use the Victrix stuff. I just find that the scale's better. I find that the Hail Caesar stuff for me just doesn't quite do it. It's just got a little too detailed, whereas I'm very fussy about my Romans, which then anyone that's a true Roman fan will then tell me off and tell me that the oh god, what's it called? It's the pronunciation. Was it the Circa Segmenta? Actually, in realistic terms, they wouldn't actually look like this. They would be more of a hodgepodge of chainmail and stuff like that. But I don't care.
Depends on what era you're coming from and stuff. The Lorica Segmenta or whatever I think they call it. Lorica Segmenta. Yeah. Depends what sort of era you're going on. It's also potentially a myth that they all wore red as well. There was a big thing about it that it would have depended on the cohort and on the Legion where they came from. Red was probably an easier sort of dye to get and stuff like that, but they would have sort of had yellow, obviously purples and things like that as well. So, they wouldn't have all been red.
Mine all purple. Every single one of my guys is purple. Yeah. They're all emperors and senators.
Yeah. But yeah.
So what do we think of this starter set then? What were we rating
that's, you're getting everything you want. You're getting a fuck ton of models.
It's in an ideal world, you're splitting this with a friend, so it's 40 quid.
Yeah, so that's
40 quid on my paper round.
That's a 10 out of 10 there, I think. It's got value on it. So it's got basically both sets of the coin there. So you've got everything you need in a box, and you've got value for money as well. So I don't think obviously you can increase on that, but you've got pretty much everything you would need. I suppose because it's formational and it's rank and flank and stuff. It won't feel like it's like you're getting 2 units of one and 2 units of another.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a massive battle and stuff like that, but the amount of models.
Oh, it's enough. It's enough to get you going.
Yeah.
And the thing is it's not giving you loads of duplicates of models that you're not going to need in the future.
Yeah.
You will need standard. You have to have standard line troops. Yeah. So you're not forced into buying something that you might not necessarily want.
I've been looking at because I watch. There's a little war TV on YouTube, and they do a lot of historical reenactment battles, but they do it with like lesser known rule sets or ones they've created themselves, and so they do loads of historical battles and things like that. And they're currently doing a Pyrrhus campaign, so Pyrrhus sort of against the Romans, and they've got basically the boot of Italy and then Sicily, and they've got sort of campaign map parts of it, and then they zoom into actually playing the battles where they use 6mm guys and stuff. And I like the 6mm because it looks more like an actual battle and stuff like that, whereas using the sort of having 28mm guys in something like that, it's just like, well, it's meant to be big formations of the loads of guys, and it's just like doesn't have that feel and stuff like that. Whereas that 6mm thing, I don't really care about. Plus, it's easier to paint 6mm stuff. You're not too fussed about it. Sort of, you could blast.
You
through.
Say that, but you haven't painted 6mm since your eyes used to work and your back.
Do you know what Do you know what I was thinking, Sam? I was actually thinking the other day. I have some epic stuff. And some guy, Ninjon, was it Ninjon?
Yep.
Is it Ninjon? He was doing it.
Possibly. Well, he's definitely done some of it.
It was basically, there was some guy who was like, I don't know much about Epic, but somebody sent me this Epic 40K box, and he went through it and he started painting some of the Epic stuff, and I was like, that'd be quite a good challenge to get some sort of some epic stuff sort of painted up, or at least you can some 6mm stuff to see.
You want to do it, mate? I've got an Eldar epic army.
Yeah, okay.
Good to
well, maybe you should do
it whenever you like.
I'm still trying to finish off my Blood Bowl team, but I think the next I wouldn't mind trying to paint some 6mm stuff to say, just to see how it goes.
Anytime you're ready, we can start up the fortnightly challenge as well, and then get people doing it as well. Following us on Instagram or joining the Hobby Hoarders partially painted Facebook group. Please do. Right, this one I feel we almost can't judge it by the same criteria as the previous ones. The reason being is a lot of those other ones have duplicate models or are big companies that can sort of mass produce stuff. And Night Models, they never strike me as big a company. They strike me as more of a boutique company. I don't know why. But what do we think about this? So this starter set.
I got my brother once something similar for Christmas many years ago, which I never think he opened. But it had like
the Suicide Squad by any chance?
Yeah, it was the Suicide Squad.
That one sold really well for them.
Yeah.
So this one has in it again, rulebook, measuring sticks, tokens, event cards, mission cards, and then it has your two sort of main factions. So we've got some special characters, we've got some cops, and we've got some gangsters. We've got a nice little breakdown down here. There we go. So we've got 17 models, and then their bases. And it does it say there? So we wanted 2 crews. So will you join Batman to fight the corruption, or will you join the organized crime to impose your oppression? So which sort of side will you go on? Oh, it's based on the movie Batman, so it's based on the Robert Pattinson one, I'm guessing.
Oh, okay, cool.
That is a nice Batman sculpt.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah,
the models are gorgeous.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think they're really good. Again, nice beveled there. I don't mind the sort of the bases and stuff. Yeah, for games like, I think that's good value. You've got everything you kind of need in one box. These games are designed to be small scale sort of encounters, so you're not wanting loads and loads and loads of models anyway. 82 quid. Again, pretty good value. You got everything there you need. It's good value for money. You're getting all 8, 9 out of 10. I think you pretty much need everything. Yeah.
So we're gonna end on the big enchilada, the dangerous one, the one that could be bad for your health. So let's have a little look here. So would that be under start collecting? I don't know. Do they still have?
It'll be the Indomitus one, won't it? But I don't think they're gonna have it. It'll be the
start here.
Yeah. There you go. Oh no, that's the old.
Okay, so we've got
these
three
are
different levels.
These are the ones I was talking about with your little crappy sort of. These are the crappy cardboard ones and stuff like that. Even that one, look at that. What's that one? 110 quid. Wait, you get what's that one? How much is that for some cardboard scenery? And 32 quid. All right, it's not too bad. That's not too bad.
That's actually not bad at all. That's actually really. I'm pleasantly surprised.
32 quid.
So what we got? We've got like 10, 12 Necron warriors. We've got some swarms. We've got a leader. We've got some space marines.
Yeah, 32 quid isn't too bad, and you're not going to get a full rule book on that. You're just going to get the basic rules. So that is going to be. That's what I was talking about and stuff. For somebody who's painting, it's just like you're getting pretty good value for money because you're getting.
Yeah, I mean, if I wanted some space marines or Necrons to just chop up and I want to use them in a video, I'll buy it. 32. That's less than half price. That I don't know if it will be making them a loss, but
yeah, that's good. That's good for them. They don't have the big starter set because I think they're pushing towards making a 10th edition coming up soon.
So what is this? So it's not the real rule book then. So it's not.
I think it's just you're gonna have your basic rules.
Recruit manual 64 pages, so in the overview, background models and step together. So it's a more specific one. You know what? 32 quid. I'm giving that a decent rating.
Yeah, it's not too bad actually. Yeah.
You know, that's actually really good. I was wrong. I came in here with a slightly negative view. Don't love the terrain, but the fact that you get any terrain is still pretty cool. Like, what is that? Why is it just one big block? That's what I don't really understand. Like, is that really just one big block?
Yes.
That's a bit odd.
Even though 32 quid is pretty good, to be fair. For Games Workshop especially.
So what do you know what?
You're getting more. You're getting more than that than the Warcry thing, and you're getting a lot more models.
And you're getting the two. So you're getting 2 units of specialists, and then you're getting a fancy lord and actual terrain,
and the full rulebook.
Here's the killer. Is it the full rulebook? Because if it's the full rulebook, where have we got here? Commander, it contains an overview. So it's still an overview.
Okay.
So it's not the full rulebook. But you know what? Everything else, that's pretty good.
So how many?
What is it, 110?
How many guys you getting there? So you're getting a squad of heavy intercessors. You're getting a squad of the bikers. I can't remember what they're called these days. So that is 50 quid for them. Well, you're looking nearly £100 for the models on their own, I guess. Then the terrain on top of that.
Yeah. Wow. Pleasantly surprised. I'm not gonna lie. I came here to end on a Games Workshop bashing note, but yeah, to be fair, it has everything we wanted. We wanted a bit of terrain. We wanted some models. We wanted the rulebook. We prefer the full rulebook. It would be nice if that summary rulebook had all the rules in it, but maybe it does. I don't know. I don't have that rulebook. The fact that it says overview, I don't care about everyone else's. Oh no, wait, hang on, go. The rules softback, your complete guide to Warhammer 40,000.
So you have the full softback version.
It has a full.
Yep.
Do you know what? Absolutely. Yeah, I'm happy to give that a good mark as well because that is. Yeah. Wow. Fantastic.
The only downside with that starter set is you don't have enough to make a full. You could have. I don't think you can have a full FOC in that. Even I don't think there's a combat patrol there because you've got what is it? How many
I wouldn't say that that's yeah. So it means that it doesn't get the full marks that maybe night models and maybe so night models is a full game and oh god, what am I thinking of? What's the other one? The other one we looked at that was a full game, Warcry. So maybe it doesn't get those points, but let
me just check.
That wasn't necessarily a criteria because it's about value for money and can you use all these models? I don't know much about Space Marines, but I know that in Necrons you'll definitely need Necron warriors.
I know, but you're getting so basically for you, like a patrol, you need for a game legal, you need 2 troops, and you need you need 2 troops, and you need an HQ. In this, you're getting for Necrons, you're getting 1 set of troops, and 1 HQ with some other peripherals. And they, as for the, you're not getting enough to play by the rules that they've set. You could sort of kind of, because you've got 3 types. You've got like patrol, you've got different levels depending on points and stuff like that. So you could play, you just couldn't play fully without buying other models and stuff like that.
I don't think, I don't hold that against them because you've now got the rule book. You can go out, you can buy the main rule book for the Space Marines, and you can say, look, what do I want to choose? Because you've got now at least an understanding of the game. I'm not going to hold that against it. I don't think a starter set necessarily means it has to supply absolutely everything on a game like this.
Bear in mind, everything else, every other starter set we've looked at has included everything that you would need to play that game properly.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah, well, name me one which hasn't.
Armada. It comes with 2 ships.
Yeah, but you can't. Does it have a limit to? Do you have to have a certain amount of ships to make a full force organization? Or is it just based per ship, and then you?
I suppose I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's not. They're not illegal.
Basically, that starter set, that starter set's very cheap. In that case, it's not really a starter set. It's a rule book with some counters, and they throw in 2 free models. The proper starter sets where you've got anything that's worth.
My point is, you wouldn't stop at this for the Warlord one.
No, but you got a legal army there that's going to be worth. Whereas in the 40k one, you've got 1 5-man squad of Space Marines and 3 bikes, which is 2 squads, which isn't FOC legal.
How much more expensive would they need to make it legal?
So you need 2 troops. So you need another set of troops. It doesn't look like they've got an HQ for. Oh, they do have 1 HQ in there. So
basically, you would need double. Which, to be honest, most people would buy 1 set and trade with a friend anyway. I'm not gonna. I see your point, but I'm not gonna hold that against them.
I'd give it a 7. It's good value for money, but it's not as a starter set. It's not sort of, it's not based on some of the other stuff. You're not sort of getting everything. I don't think Games Workshop, they either do good value for money, or they have or it's expensive and they put everything in there. But
what would you need? Just the £32.50 one, which is just an absolute steal. Would the £32.51 in addition to the 110 do you?
But that's like basically 140, and yeah, because that makes it legal, but it's still, that's 140 quid to start off for something. Whereas in these other
if you're
things,
balking at 140 quid, then 40k is not the game for you, is it?
Exactly. It's going to cost you a small fortune and stuff. And most people, unless you're buying for, the dad wants to sort of get the son into it and he's not played 40k in ages and stuff like that. But it's still, bear in mind, on all the other starter sets, you're getting everything in one box for just under 100 quid. In this, you're getting stuff that you can kind of play around with, but it's not as far. You will need to buy other stuff if he wants to play it more and stuff. Or she wants to play it more. So
I was trying to check how much the Lord of the Rings one is, but with the recent announcements of the new sets, I don't think I'm going to be able to find the starter set in here, because I reckon they're probably sold out already. How about Warhammer Age of Sigmar is the last one then?
that was 100. That was 120 quid, I think, wasn't it? Dominion, I think it was. Yeah, scroll down. Or is it 100? Is it 110? Warhammer Age 6. What's that?
Yeah, again, this one strikes me as pretty good value, and this one, I believe, is a legal list.
How many guys are you getting? I haven't played Age of Sigmar in ages, so
quite a lot. So the mini rule book, 32 models. Yeah, 32, and 5 terrain sets, a board, dice.
I don't think Games Workshop. I don't know, some of the it's good value, I think, based on it's good value.
You're buying individual Games Workshop.
If you want to get sort of lots of guys and you can trade stuff out with your mates and things like that. But for starter sets, again, you've got a lot of other companies doing it for cheaper, with a lot more there for you and stuff. Granted,
there is one argument as well that you sort of have to take into account as well, is the discounts. If I try and find this box set, I can almost guarantee you I can get it 20% off. But for Mantic and Warlord, I think I could not get much better than 10%.
No, yeah.
So when you take that into account, I guess how much would that make a difference? This would take that set down to what, 90 quid? And their sets would be around about 75 quid.
Yeah, I think you're buying it from like Element and things like that. You're getting sort of, or your sort of, your local gaming stores and stuff.
Yeah.
You get discounts 10-15% or whatever. Yeah, it's just as it comes to a starter set, it's all encompassing. You get everything you need to actually play. I'm not sure if Games Workshop do that well. They do it in that you're getting a lot of cheap guys and you can trade them out with your mates and then get a legal force and stuff like that. But
they would definitely get you started in trying it.
So,
starter sets. Companies, listen up. This is what we, the definitive Hobby Hoarders podcast, want in a starter set. We want a rulebook, and we want it to be, we will accept a miniature with all the fluff and all the rules for specific units removed, but we want the full core rulebook. We want terrain, but it can be 2D terrain. We're okay with 2D terrain if you use specific terrain. If it's generic terrain, we don't really care. But having that 2D stuff in a starter set is a good idea. We like dice if they're specialist dice, but we couldn't give a toss if they're just D6s. You can leave that out. Measuring sticks.
Yeah, I never use measuring sticks ever.
No,
I can understand maybe like if you're just starting and you're just sort of like you've never played a war game in your life and it's quite handy. You don't have a measuring tape, but
Yeah, well, we're not fussed about those. You can drop those.
Yeah.
Miniatures, we want a complete faction. Not a complete faction as in every model for every unit.
We want
a legal list.
Yeah, a legal list.
Playmat, Again, depending on the game, obviously if it needs a playmat with specific shapes, like Dead Zone, etc., we want one of those. Like a paper one is absolutely fine. I mean, in this one, how much do you think they could? Knocking that mat off wouldn't really save that much money, would it?
It's gonna be. It's not gonna be neoprene. It's gonna be just sort of.
It's nice. We're not going to complain about it.
Yeah.
But not necessary. Anything else that they must have in a starter set? Oh, and we would prefer it to be under £100, although we will adjust that for inflation as this video goes out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I like I was saying, as long as it's sort of it's reasonably cheap for the time when it comes out and stuff like that, realistically cheap. And for a starter set, it has to be cheaper than anything that's going to be on its own, and it has to have everything so you can actually play the game properly. Instead of, here's a load of guys, you can't play the game fully properly unless you trade stuff out with your mates, but then you can't play it unless you play with that mate. So for me, a starter set is for somebody who's starting with their son or daughter, and they're going, do you want to play this? And they can play it legally, properly, with everything there, and they can enjoy it. Grant, you can still play these games with things, but they're not going to be fuck legal and stuff like that. They're not going to be what the rules are intended for and stuff. So for me, if you've got rules and they're made for a certain way, it should encapsulate those rules. Otherwise, why don't you just play Killzone or Necromunda or something like that?
Fantastic. Well, if you have enjoyed this podcast, there are a couple of ways that you can help us out. Give us a like, a subscribe, comment. You can give us a rate anywhere that you listen to your podcast. Maybe share this to a gaming group if you think other people will enjoy having it in their ear holes. But that is it from me, Sam, and my co-host, Matt. Thank you for joining.
Bye.